sure. But yeah, so this is E-Roi. I'm gonna be fully clear right now. That my impression is not that E-Roi is copying Violor, but it is very clear that like they took a lot of inspiration from Violor. So they're going for a jewel mineral vibe. That's cool. So the main thing that I'm seeing with E-Roi is that um let me show you. Because I don't know if the character gallery here actually really properly it captures it to a certain extent, but one thing I like about E-Roi right away is that it really does feel like it has a brand of its own. Like in terms, or not a brand of its own, but like it's the current lineup of VTubers that they're going to be like models that they're going to be working with feel like they all fit a core theme. So I'll show you an example if I can get this up like correctly. So let me explain to chat for those of you that don't understand it. What's happening right now is all of the VTuber like models themselves have been built. What they're looking for is people to play the VTubers themselves. That's basically how it works. So they have like all of these specific ideas, like specific basically characters down, and they're looking for auditions for people to play the characters. So one thing I really like about E-Roi right away is that I feel like they're first gen. So there's several VTuber models, VTuber roles that you can apply for, and they all seem to fit a theme really well. So the theme kind of for Gen 1 seems to be like a lot of major arcana is kind of the key inspiration, and then like there's different kind of personalities behind each of the characters. So let me, for the ability for all of you to see it, I'll get out of the way really quickly. There's Alexandrite. The teaser we have here is Eyes Up, Darling, with the Empress. We have, let me see if I can like go next. Lol. We have Opal, who's the sun. Here for adventure. Oh, just a drink? Fine, but don't blame me if I spill it. That's supposed to be like the sun. We get Pearl, the hermit. I wasn't late. I was marinating. Who it gets the scissors over here. We got like the scissors thing going on. It is different. Like I'm looking at the scissors here. It is different in approach, but I don't think they're literally like copy and pasting the design. I just thought it was really funny that like there was like a VTuber of scissors as a core part of her design for Gen 1 Violor, and then they did it for this agency too. Death gets Paradot. They call it necromancy. I call it gardening with extra steps. This one seems cool. I think she's going to be very popular. And then we get Hisui, Temperance. Oh, a Tababito? It's been so long since someone's come this far. And it says who's ready for moonlit warmth and whispered stories. Let me see the other teasers too. So Peridot is giggles and magic. Pearl, Scissors Girl, is who's ready for sleepy chaos from the deep. Opal is cuteness and chaos, getting a little bit of Burnus vibes over here. And Alexandrite, dominant yet warm. She seems like kind of like a femdom character that they're going for. I like that a lot. So that is the kind of initial, I believe it's just all the 6, right? So there's Hisui, Peridot, Pearl, Opal, Alexandrite. Yeah, so wait, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's like 5 initial roles that you can apply for at E-Roi, and auditions go to, I believe, November 9th. So again, for those of you that are like, wait, so what do you mean? Essentially, like when you apply for an agency like this, it's not that like you apply and they custom tailor like a new model around you. Like what you're doing is applying for specific roles. They're looking for someone who can fill, the Pearl role here, or the Opal role, someone who is a good fit for those specific roles. You don't think they'd stop after the major arcana? Well, I guess we'll have to see how many gens they do. Can't wait to apply as the Ace of Swords for the eventual 78-person roster. That'd be crazy. Then they could do like tarot pulls of like randomly pulling like their agency's VTubers. You know, Anna, why do you pronounce Opal as Opal? I don't know. Opal? I don't know. I'm really bad at pronunciation. I had to practice E-Roi like numerous times before stream. This is Anna Pilled Tarot. It's actually so true. They're aiming for you, Anna. Less of a V Shoujo as starting with a stable of talent and then recruiting more the Hall lifestyle, finding the weirdos to fit the weirdos. The looks and are built and the personalities are being sought. Yes, that is a good idea. They're going for a jewel mineral vibe. Yeah, like that combined with tarot. I think one thing I like right away before you even get into like what to like to work with them, what the premise is, I think sometimes when agencies do a Gen 1 run, like it kind of feels like they just put all like they just kind of like smush together a bunch of ideas they think might be good. And the impression I'm getting with E-Roi is that they actually have like a very key focused idea of like theme. Like it's tarot based. It's got kind of like the jewel thing going on. You do still have the aspect of like every single VTuber, every single model is going to kind of appeal to a different kind of audience. But there's a lot of cohesion, which I think is really good. I would say we don't see that as much with the other two kind of bigger English. Well, we have one EN AVTuber agency, and then we have one that's sort of like NSFW extremely friendly. And we haven't seen as much of like this cohesive kind of approach from either of those yet. So it'd be a hot move to have a full deck of streamers. That'd be sick. Gemstones Tarot, is this a pagan VTuber agency? That is a great question. So, a little bit about where E-Roi is right now, so folks know like the popularity of this kind of like VTuber group. Ow! What did I do? Kupani Alruko. This is gonna be tough to actually find. Okay, so it's important to note that because I want to be like objectively looking at this agency, even though I this is an agency I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty excited for. I think like they represent a really important next stage for AV tubing in agency, like AV tubing agencies, but they have had kind of a slow start on social media, only 13 subscribers on YouTube. And then if we go to E-Roi's, let me make sure I don't have anything embarrassing that's going to pop up. But if we go to like E-Roi's actual literal Twitter page, we will see that their follower count is a bit low. Right now it's 147. I haven't seen a lot of buzz about them yet. I haven't seen a lot of folks talking about them. I have seen a little bit here and there. I've seen E-Roi get talked about on 4chan a little bit. I've seen it be talked about on like Reddit a little bit. I've seen folks boosting some stuff here and there about it. I did see supposedly that they were advertising on VT, 4chan's like VTuber board, although I haven't seen any of those ads directly myself, just like a thread that seemed to screen grab one of their banners inviting applications or auditions, I should say. So they are like around and they are trying to get the word out, but they are having a bit of a slow start. And I think for some folks here, it's important to remember that Brahmasu, who also just debuted recently, they are not technically an AVTuber agency, a LewdTuber agency, but they kind of like really, well, let me go Brahmasu's official kind of page so people understand, because I think folks have started to see these folks around a little bit. Some folks that follow me on Twitter might see me interact with Ariel. I'm so sorry if I mispronounced your name, who's a VorTuber and likes China stuff. So like I like her a lot. I think she's cool. And Promisu EN, well, I'll just like show it right here so everyone kind of knows what's up with them. So Promisu EN is an English-speaking branch of Promisu, which has captivated audiences through exceptional virtual talent performances and immersive content experiences. Expanding on this legacy, Promisu EN is dedicated to bringing unique and diverse voices to the global stage, connecting creators with fans worldwide. Join Promisu EN and share your passion for performance, storytelling, and immersive experiences with audiences eager to discover exciting, captivating talent. So Their main requirements is like 18 plus, passion for VTubing, speaking fluent English, experience as a streamer, entertainer, makes ASMR and or POV content. And the kind of vibe with Promasu is that there was actually a really good like VTuber news discussion with them. Yeah, here we go. This should be it. Okay. With how they kind of explain themselves. Promasu's entry into the English-speaking market is highly anticipated because it represents not just an expansion, but a cultural and creative bridge, bringing our distinctive style of immersive VTuber storytelling and specialized ASMR content to a global audience. ASMR and POV content is a highly contested matter, especially on major platforms like YouTube and Twitch. This is from VTuber News Drop, where VTubers get their content removed. What's their approach on this? Well, we're aware of the sensitivity and restrictions surrounding ASMR and POV content mainstream platforms. That's precisely why we prioritize giving our talents a reliable, supportive environment through our play. And then also above, you'll see VChan is Korea's first NSFW VTuber agency and was established to introduce a more open subculture to Korea. VChan regularly attends various VTuber festivals in Korea, and the content produced by them includes audio dramas as well as voice packs. After Promasu JP's debut, the parent company had realized that there was an opportunity in Korea as well for their own group. Now, I mention this because Promasu's parent company has a Korean branch called VChan Entertainment. And Promasu JP has seen substantial success in Japan, demonstrating significant demand internationally from English-speaking audiences who appreciate our unique mix of storytelling, character interaction, ASMR-focused content. I'm reading all this to say Promasu kind of exists in this interesting direction where they're breaking into the English market, and there's like a pretty heavy focus on ASMR, but it's not like doing the same things as like E-Roi and E-Roi are trying to do. Like, you do have ASMR coming out from the talent there, but it's a little bit also kind of a variety agency is I think the best way I would put it, which is why you will see, you know, like them doing kind of like gaming streams and stuff like that. So like NSFW is part of it, but it's like not the only part of it. Is it bad that them advertising in 4chan makes me more hesitant to look at auditioning? I mean, I think it's important to understand, like, okay, we have to talk about this really quickly because I think it's easy for folks to misunderstand why an agency might try to court some of 4chan's favor. It's important to understand that on 4chan, on VT, there's a thread called ASP, which is for aspiring VTubers. And so there's a lot of folks in that thread that are kind of, you know, they're looking to apply to all these different agencies and they're looking to kind of learn from each other or chat or just talk shit. And an agency like E-Roi, who really does need to kind of put as many fingers into the pot as possible, is going to naturally try to look for both posters and lurkers on VT to apply. Like, it's important for people to understand that VT, while it's lost a lot of its prominence in the VTubing space, is still a very important community. It's one that a lot of industry like members, I mean like VTubers, but also just like clippers, editors, writers, whatever, do check that board because it does provide a valuable temperature check and it is a really core meeting spot. There's a lot of folks that go on 4chan's VT that will kind of like like be looking at like, I'm shaking my head at what's being posted. Many things I disagree with, but they're going to go on that board anyway because it is a very important part of the English VTubing landscape. Like, I think that's just something that folks need to understand about where English VTubing is. Like, 4chan has played a pretty significant role in where English VTubing is. It's just the way it is. Like, that's just the way it is. It doesn't mean that like all VTubing is beholden to 4chan. It doesn't even mean that even most of like English VTubing is. It's just a fundamentally important community. So yeah, like an agency like E-Roi is going to really try to potentially get their name on that board, seen in front of people, especially because there are things like, you know, like what is it called? Like tingles, like the ASMR thread. So there is a lot of discussion and passion for ASMR on VT. So it's an important business decision is what I'm saying. Doesn't necessarily mean that E-Roi is a chuddy organization. I think that needs to be made clear. It just means that they're trying to get the agency in front of as many people as possible. Back in my day, all the trans girls were on 4chan anyway. Yeah, TTTT. So yeah, Promosu, the reason why I mention them is they kind of sit in this kind of in-between area where they kind of are like an AVTuber agency, but they're kind of not. And then we have E-Roi walk-in. And Promosu has been growing. Their talents are really starting to their talents definitely have turned some heads, but they didn't have like the major enormous pop-off for AVTubing and ASMR that Valens did. And I mention this because I think a lot of folks might look at E-Roi's like Twitter, which I'll bring up again, and be like, this is really, it's not getting like crazy numbers, what's going on. And I think what folks need to understand is that that's probably going to change after the audition occurs. Like people are going to be a little wait and see until everything comes together. They want to make sure this agency is like legit for real, things like that. So I wouldn't draw heavy conclusions about the agency yet, just because it is slowly building up its social presence. It's been a bit slow. The other thing I want to stress is that the landscape for AV tubing in the English market has changed. Like when Valens first appeared in late 2023, like it was officially announced, it was a big deal because this was the first time that there was like a serious business effort to try to transition, like to try to bring AV tubing via an agency, like doing an AV tuber agency, adult VTuber agency in the English speaking, Anglosphere VTubing market. And there was also, someone really central to that company that had a very kind of famous public like falling out with the corpo they were working with. So that agency popping up in the English sphere was kind of the equivalent of like PUBG dropping. Like a lot, like, like this was the moment where like, oh my God, like someone brought like the battle royale format into gaming successfully. Same kind of deal. This is the moment that like an agency is bringing like the adult VTuber kind of approach into VTubing through a agency model. And so anyone that's kind of following in the footprints of that is just going to have a little bit of a muted attention in comparison because they're not the first ones to do it. That doesn't mean that any agency that follows is going to like struggle or be in a bad spot. Far from it. We'll talk a little bit about my thoughts long term about what that means for a agency like E-Roi, but I do think it's important to talk about because if someone wants to audition for an agency like this, they need to have a good they need to manage expectations about like how much has changed in just like what, like 2 years now. It's different. It's different. The talent needs to show their stuff. There's no product yet. Yeah, I mean, like anyone can start a group, anyone can start an agency. It's different when there starts to be names and eye reveals and faces, kind of rumblings that someone is leaving like their independent venture or one corpo to come to another one. So I wouldn't be deterred by this, although I would say that E-Roi might just be a little bit slow on the uptake over time. We'll talk about that too. So let us go straight to the FAQ. Let's talk a little bit about E-Roi's FAQ so folks can understand what exactly they get into with this agency. But first, let me take some Gatorade. It will. And also catch up on chat, lol. You sort of have to because it's a huge base. Like, they're all agency interact with the VTuber board there. Yeah, It's important to remember, like, pretty much any major VTuber agency is going to get discussed on VT. There's going to be focus. There's literally like a Phase Connect thread, which I guess is a bad example. Like that's probably not surprising to anybody here. But like there's literally like a thread all about ASMR, and like that's not a surprise at all because, we're talking about, right? Like we're talking about like the ASMR space has everything from the more chuddy types, the more leftist types, and everything in between. And there's a lot of popular VTubers that are also popular ASMRists. I'm not even talking about people like Cottontail. I'm talking about like Shondo, right? Like Shondo, was very well known for being a Patreon ASMRist. Like now these days, like it's changed a little bit. But that was like really her big claim to fame. Fame was doing ASMR. So. Yeah, the town. Oh, yeah. I can also see hesitation for this after what's happened to Shoujo and smaller VTubing companies as well. We'll talk about that. Gatorade, who are you? Celsius and Gatorade are made by the same company. So, hello, was a PepsiCo or whatever. Hit me up. Make the brand deal happen. I will burp whatever drink you give me. Okay. So let's go through the FAQ for E-Roi. So what is E-Roi? E-Roi is an upcoming AV-tuber agency that leans into the spicy side of content and takes care of all your merchandising needs. We are a fully registered business. What is an AV-tuber? An AV-tuber, adult virtual YouTuber, is a type of VTuber who creates content that is explicit or adult themed, often involving sexual content. While this term is more common in Japan, it's increasingly being adopted in the Western sphere to describe VTubers who produce NSFW or mature content aimed at an adult audience. Hi, Andrea girl. Wait, there's a boycott? There's a boycott? Uh-oh. I have to dump my Gatorade. What are some of the benefits for joining us? So if you join E-Roi, you get a fully rigged live 2D model and assets to help unleash your full potential, creating in-house merchandise that your fans will enjoy, any equipment purchases that may be needed before debut, secure sponsorships, partnerships, and event opportunities to expand your brand, pre-debut help, lots of behind-the-scenes help such as marketing, editors, management, audio editing, etc., and more. What are the required past experiences? Applicants must have a minimum of 3 months of streaming experience with verifiable proof. Links to past streams, clips. Let me fix this a little bit. There we go. Clips or platform analytics applications without this experience will be automatically disqualified. While prior experience in NSFW audio production is not required, you must provide evidence that you have previously created, participated in, or sold not burps, NSFW content, art streams, audios, etc. This makes a lot of sense. They basically want to know that, like, you know what you're signing up for. You know that, like, what you're getting into. It's basically their way of saying, look, like, you've got to be comfortable with this content, because it's one thing to apply for an agency like this. It's another to apply for an agency like this having zero sex work experience, and then you come in and you're like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed, like, doing, like, pussy, like, fapping audios. Like, they don't want that, because that's a significant amount of money, time invested in you that's suddenly lost. Ow. When do auditions close? November 9th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern. So literally after the stream, you could apply if you wanted to. What platforms will talents stream to? Our talents' primary streaming platform will be YouTube, though they are welcome to dual stream on Twitch if they choose. This is a really interesting one. I'm going to talk about this really quickly. So the kind of split between, I'm just going to say from this point forward, there's kind of like 3 major ASMR agencies, which is like Valens, major, I don't know, we'll see how E-Roi shakes up, but there's 3 core like EN VTubing adult VTuber agencies right now that are ASMR oriented, and those are Valens, Promisu, and now we have E-Roi. And so the shakeup for those agencies is that Valens, I don't know why I said it like that. Valens is all YouTube. They had a very good reason for that. They were like, Twitch's outfit designs are going to be super restrictive, so there's no reason for us to like be on Twitch. We're going to constantly get banned. There's like limitations for like the sexy outfits we want to do, so no Twitch, we're on YouTube. Promisu has basically just said, like, our play is for us. Like, we love our play. We're nervous about, like, you know, YouTube like censoring ASMR, and we just think our play is based. And it makes sense because for a lot of agencies, for a lot of ASMRs, they have their safe for work, quote unquote, safe for work ASMR on YouTube, and then they do like NSFW stuff. Our play is really great for Promisu because they can do the safe for work stuff there. They can do the NSFW stuff there. It's all good. So Promisu has had a lot of success, I think, both being on our play and also promoting our play is what I would say. And then we have E-Roi, which is basically like, yeah, YouTube, but you can dual stream to Twitch. I think that's a pretty good perk because YouTube is a popular VTubing platform, but Twitch also really is too. So why rob your talent from the opportunity of being on Twitch unless, you know, your outfits, your models are the content that you're creating might get dinged. But based on what we've seen of the outfits so far, they seem a little bit less revealing than like what we've seen from Valens. So I think they probably will be good on Twitch. I think they thought that part through. Are we accepting VTubers with existing IPs? After I read through the FAQ, I'll go through chat. At this time, we are only looking for in-house talents. In future generations, this may change. So what they mean by this is they created the IPs, they created the in-house models, and you'll apply, you audition. If they like you, if they want to offer a role to you, you step into the role of that model. You don't walk away with the IP. It's not like VShojo where, like, for example, Silverveil walks out with, like, her IP. Where would NSFW audio content and other exclusive content be hosted on? They will be hosted on sites like Patreon. I will talk about this later when I talk about, like, the future of the AVTuber kind of agency sphere. Obviously, this makes a lot of sense. Like, every ASMRist is on Patreon. I even was like, I don't want to be on Patreon, and then I moved to Patreon, and then I have massive success being on Patreon. But one of the issues that that's always hanging over everyone's head, like the sword of Damascus, is what if Patreon starts cracking down on ASMRists? So it's just... It's not something that's, like, particularly one way or another indicative of, like, E-Roi. It's just if you as an auditioner are thinking long term about, like, what the future of how this content is going to exist on the internet over the next couple of years, I think this is still a bit of an open question. Like, what happens if Patreon clamps down ASMR? Because in my opinion, it is a question of when, not if. And I think for any company that's building itself heavily on Patreon, there's always the risk that, like, they take an income hit if one day it's gone. Are we looking for male talent? We are not looking for male talents, nor do we ever plan to. Is this our full website? No, this is only for auditions and staff applications. Our main website is currently being worked on and will be finished soon. So that is the FAQ portion. There's a couple Q&A stuff as well that I'm going to read through, and then I'll take some time and I'll actually compare this to, because I think they take a lot of inspiration from Valens. I'll look at that as kind of like the main model and kind of compare contrast about where E-Roi is right now. Let me catch up with chat. Thank you, Duvin, for the lurks. I appreciate it. Thank you. Hope they don't get bonked on Twitch. I think they'll be a bit more lucky. A lot of ASMRs just constantly get bonked on YouTube. I think they'll be much more lucky. Like, Veracia also has gotten bonked for her ASMR stuff, but it tends to be much more rare and, like, false positives. So when they say adult VTuber, they don't mean adult topics like politics or financial advice. Dang. Whoops. No, they do not. That's not what an adult VTuber is. SodaStream is, I don't know about Pepsi. Okay. Yeah, I know SodaStream I know is boycotted, but I don't know about Pepsi. Doesn't make sense there. Even if I wouldn't be able to do it, it's essentially vetting out people who aren't comfortable with it. Yeah, I mean, like, okay, like, let's say, like, one of the issues that, like, one of the reasons why any adult VTuber agency is going to have that rule is because, like, let's say you open up auditions and you get, like, a bunch of people who are just sending in auditions to every single agency ever. And, like, you like their voice and you give them the job, and then you give them the job, and, like, suddenly they're just, like, completely, utterly, like, befuddled and, like, completely uncomfortable with, like, doing NSFW content. Like, that's you want someone like that actively not in the audition pool, because it's a waste of time and resources if you accidentally end up moving forward with them. An adult VTuber, but all they do is give you tax advice. That sounds solid. Okay, so let's go through the Q&A that E-Roi has gone through a little bit, because I want to talk about some of the responses. So, this is not a good format for it. Let's do it like this. Okay. So we're going to read through just kind of going down, like, all of their responses. So, how many audios a month will the talents be expected to produce, and will you have scriptwriters? Talents are expected to create at least, Talents are expected to create at least 3 full-length premium NSFW audio pieces each month, and yes, we'll be providing professional scriptwriters to support you throughout the process if desired. Talents are also encouraged to create more audios for their SFW channels as well. I think 3 is actually really good as a promise for full length. Valens does 4, so you can tell that they're, like, a little bit more, like limited on the production scale. I think there's like more limited funding E-Roi has compared to like doing 4 per month. But I think 3 is pretty good, because if you're doing 1 ASMR a week, like that actually can be a lot of work. It's not as much if like all you're doing is performing and like someone else is handling like all the audio production and script writing and stuff like that. But doing like 4 a month can, in my personal opinion, can be a little challenging when you're also trying to stay on top of streaming, and like you might not be doing like the minimum amount of streaming asked of you. Like you might want to stream more. You might want to try to like really push to engage your community, grow your community. So I actually think 3 is a pretty good balance. Like I don't think that's too much, but it's enough that like people are constantly getting content. I usually do 2 a month. Sometimes I'll do 3. It's rare that I'm doing it once a week unless I'm like really trying to push out content. Is NSFW audio negotiable? For example, could we instead create NSFW art, animations, or other content? Since E-Roi Productions is an audio-focused agency, producing audio content is a required part of every talent's activities. Additional skills like illustration or animation are valuable bonuses that we carefully consider during our manual review process. So essentially here, if you are signing up for E-Roi, you are doing ASMR. Like you should not be signing up for E-Roi if you're not prepared to do ASMR. Like this is not an agency that's like vibes-based NSFW. They have a specific goal. It's audio production content. It's ASMR content. You are basically being a voice actor. Now, obviously, if you're like a voice actor artist and you're doing NSFW artwork, that's definitely a perk in your favor in the audition process. But you are doing audio. You are not signing up for E-Roi and being like, oh, can I just like 3D animate like lewds? That's not how this is gonna work. Let's see. The ITs thing they'll be doing, but that's not really as important. They're not accepting male talent, nor that they plan to. Okay, so I'll admit this is a question I sent to them, and I guess they got it twice. Like I sent it, and then another person sent it. So the question, I forget which one I sent in. I think it was the expected revenue split between the company and the talents. But in both cases, they were asked about the 80-20 revenue split model and if they're open to discussing revenue split. And they said, for more details on revenue splits at this time, please get in touch with us via email at eroiproductionsagency@gmail.com to inquire about the specific rates we offer our talents for both streaming Patreon revenue and merchandise revenue. Now, there's a lot of things I think is promising about E-Roi, but this is the one yellow flag I have. Why? Like, why am I a bit nervous about this? Okay. So you need to understand, like, basically from the jump when Valens like premiered, they were very open about their revenue split. So this is the auditions kind of FAQ that Valens has. And Valens from the jump said 80-20 split across all revenue incomes towards the talent, the highest of any agency. The highest split that has been publicly shared by other agencies finds that Valens is the most generous with 80-20 split towards talents. So this is true. And I think there's a little sleight of hand here that a lot of folks are not aware of that has made Valens particularly popular with like ASMRists that are very familiar with sex work. Like they haven't just like done a couple lewd audios. Like they're very familiar with the adult content landscape. So 80-20 is the standard for most adult websites. Like if you're working with like many vids, like you're getting an 80-20 split. So that's not 20 to you, that's 80 to you. And so there is a good reason why Valens did this. It's to signal to people that like they comprehend like what the adult industry is and what it's like. But also we have seen that like they're not lying. Like that is a very generous split, and it's one of the most generous that we've seen with VTuber agencies. Usually it's like a little bit more around like the 50 range in my experience. So, I mean, it was obviously done because it's led by someone who is corpo, who wanted to set a good standard for talents. Now, when I go to E-Roi over here and I see that they are not open to discussing the revenue split, the first thing I think right away is that, well, from the jump, Valens was super open about it. And E-Roi wants you to privately get in touch, which it might be a good revenue split. It might depend on what they might do is like based on seniority. It might depend on like some things with merchandising, some things with streaming, some things with Patreon. I don't really know. I didn't want to like like, let me put it this way. I didn't reach out in part because I get the impression that this is sort of like a conversation I'm going to have if you're more serious for applying, and I'm not going to apply. I didn't reach out to get like any information, requests for comment, etc. But I do, for an agency that clearly is studying the landscape and not saying like outright from the gate they're going to do an 80-20 split, that does stick out to me a little bit because it's an established standard at this point. Even if there's only a few English ASMR agencies, it's established. Like, it's established that you do 80-20. So I do have some questions. What's going on with this? What's the actual revenue split they can do? Now, I think E-Roi might have like limited funding, or its funding might not be as strong as like Valens is. Like, it might be more of like a smaller budget is what I'm saying. So I don't really know. It would explain why there's also only 3 audios per VTuber per month. Like, there's just a more limited budget, but I don't really know. And this is not to say like don't trust them. This is not to say it's a red flag. It's just something that stands out because like the industry has like this kind of de facto established standard of transparency of revenue compared to other parts of ENV tubing and so other agencies. So for a new agency to say we're gonna talk to you about it, but it's gonna be more private is a little I mean, like, I think this says it all, right? The question just straight up asks, is it an 80-20 split? Like, this expectation is that it should be an 80-20 split, or that is like the best, you know. So it's a little, yes, I think Homer puts it well. It's a little sus. Good to have you, Tara Lynn. It doesn't mean that E-Roi is like up to no good. It doesn't mean that's even a red flag. It just means what's going on over here. Well, what's going on? Good to have you, Lyric Sin Venus. So yeah, that's something that as I was looking stuck out to me because they don't even in the FAQ section over here talk about it. And there's a lot of stuff in the FAQ section over here that like reflects Valor's FAQ section. So it makes me wonder, you know, what exactly is going on over here? Like it's just been kind of omitted. So my feeling is like they can't offer 80-20 because if they could, of course they would advertise it. Like, you're never going to hide a great part of your company that way. So that's what I would say. I think it's a little sus. There's something else about transparency too that I'll talk about in a second that I think is really important, but we'll get into it. Consulting with my account, my Oshi regarding my taxes come April. Can't wait. My Oshi controls my taxes. My Oshi, my adult VTuber Oshi, make sure that I brush my teeth, go to the dentist, and pay my taxes. I would like an adult VTuber that gives me tax advice. ASMR, please file your taxes on tax day. Aaron's working. I just saw that. If they're using the audios in place of something like Hololive's concerts, that sounds like a decent balance, though something like Hololive is a much bigger scale, of course. Yeah, of course. Very curious. Hey, Goblin Idol Thoxa, it's good to have you. Very curious about these ventures since Fansly really cracked down on furry fantasy and inebriation content this past summer with their own TOS payment issues. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm going to talk about this at the end of the stream, but I do obviously have my...
Hey Anna, is this a good time to talk about the revenue split for these streams as I work under you?
Uh-oh. Pet, you know that the revenue split is 80-20. 80 spanks, 20 slaps. Come on. We've talked about this. Hi, Cassie. Catgirl still interacting in chat, interacting with you, interacting with you, interacting with you. You're so Catgirl coded. On a serious note, don't trust them. I mean, okay. There are some things... about E-Roi that do inspire confidence that I'll talk about, and there's other things that I'm nervous about, right, which I'll talk about, but I think I do think the lack of transparency here on this issue is just something that's immediate alarm bells. Like, wouldn't you want to be open about it? Now, I think also E-Roi kind of understands that, like, if they say something lower than 80-20, people are going to be like, oh, hey, they're going to literally do the poly, like, oh, like, they're going to be like, oh, no, you can't do 80-20. So, but I don't know. There may be a good reason why they can't do 80-20, but I feel like an agency. Oh! Yeah, thank you. Oh! No, I think an agency that's operating in AV tubing needs to be 80/20. Maybe I was confused thinking like this is a platform, not an agency. I don't know. I like the total freedom of independence, even if it means I'm doing all the work. Cool. I will talk about my relationship with applying for agencies and why I decided not to apply for E-Roi. So, I'm calling Dyfus. She's my pet, not like my child. Like, there's a reason why she's here. It's because she's over 18 and my pet girl. Come on. I remember Buff Pup got hit a bit with the fans leave furry restrictions. Really? I know Ember was nervous about them. Family has shown they capitulate to pay pros, but every company seems to be proving that. Yeah, it's the nature of the internet, like fundamentally. Okay. So, let me go through the rest of the Q&A. I'm not sure if there's too much else that's important to highlight in the Q&A. Like they said, YouTube and Twitch, they go over how to pronounce it, which is E-Roi, like erotic in Japanese, E-Roi. They ask if you're going to apply to E-Roi, you can talk about it privately with friends, but not to discuss it publicly. Obviously, there's a reason why I'm publicly going through all of E-Roi, right? And it's because I'm not going to apply. They're anti-AI, pretty based. They do not want to do AI content. They literally say any audition materials found to include AI assisted / generated or text to speech voices will be automatically disqualified. Let's see. Not really much else. I'll just look at the roadmap really quickly before we go through the application. So the audition period ends November 9th. Interviews begin mid-November. Results early December. Gen 1 debuts Q1 2026 with debut merch drop 2026. So that's really it. Otherwise, things that are not discussed here. So first of all, I think like folks that really know a lot about like Valor and like Promisu and stuff like that. Like Promisu doesn't really have like a noticeable like lead of the company, but Valor does. And E-Roi, I haven't really found much about people connected to it. The only thing that I have seen is they gave a shout out to Lizera, the ASMRist. And Lizera has in her display name E-Roi. So is she the CEO and leading it? I kind of feel like she might be. Like it might be like a Strawny style thing where there's like an ASMRist running the thing. But I don't really know. Like they haven't really talked much about like who their staff is, who runs it yet. They're just open up auditions right away. There's going to be an official website that actually talks more about the agency later on, but we don't really know much about like who's actually in the center of it. Like that's not really in any of their stuff. And Valor is pretty open from the start about it. So I would definitely say with E-Roi, it's another yellow flag. Like I'd like to know, like if you go on their website, like again, because of the industry standard of like where things are, like I'd like to know who runs the thing, but it's not in their FAQ. They don't have a staff section yet. And I do think they just like kind of invite you to apply. And I do feel like, you know, for a new agency like this, especially in the wake of VShojo, when like, you know, there is this feeling in the air of like, do we trust agencies anymore? Are agencies trustworthy? Are agencies worth VTubers' time? I would like to know who's behind the thing. Like I really would, especially if I'm going to submit an audition, because it's not super transparent. Who is? No real presence, no real transparency, little bit scary. Can you check you trademark the site and start digging backwards on who owns it? So I did do a who is. Let me actually pull it up. So I did a who is on E-Roi.net. It was registered on 7/25/2025. The registrar was through GoDaddy. I haven't really found anything else specifically about them. The Twitter account for E-Roi has been around since March. I would say the one thing though is that if a popular ASMRist like Lizera is connected to or associated with E-Roi, that obviously puts some credence to them. It puts some credence to like the fact that this is a legit operation because someone is associating with them. But Yeah, I mean, it's. I'm looking a little bit more at the who is. Look up. The idea that's been around since late July until now is not weird at all. Velour worked the same way. It was like 3 months and then they like revealed everything. So it's not really like particularly rings any alarm bells. I did like a comparison. It'd be best to be prepared if one decides to go and audition. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you do that stuff last minute. But yeah, I the one thing that made me think like, okay, like E-Roi is something that is to be talked about and does have some credence is, I mean, look at her right here. We have this ASMRist Lazera. She's a popular Fansly ASMRist, and she does say that she's connected with E-Roi, and then they also promote her over here as well. So there is some connection here. I don't know what specifically it is. I think that a little bit more transparency from E-Roi is really important in today's day and age. But let me put it this way. Like, for a popular ASMRist, and if you look at her Fansly, you'll see that she's quite popular. For a popular ASMRist, you put her weight behind something like E-Roi in some shape or form does give some credence to it. I don't know too much about her personally, just that she is not like a spring chicken. She's been around. I'm a little suspicious with the lack of transparency about pay and who's involved behind the scenes, but I'm just a cynical person, so I'm probably overcritical. Yeah, I don't really see anything to suggest that like E-Roi isn't trustworthy, but I do think they need to be more transparent because other folks might feel like this is not super, like, what is going on here? Who's behind this agency? This thing just popped up out of nowhere and the auditions are suddenly live. What's going on there? So that's what I would say. But I do think that this is the one thing that's made me think like, okay, like, let's talk about this agency, because I think the fact that like a popular ASMRist is like, hey, what's up? This is like a cool thing happening. I'm connected to them. Is, she's putting her reputation on the line, and I don't think like she would just like kind of vibes do that. But I don't know what her role is with E-Roi either. Just a little bit about Lazera as well. She is a recognized ASMRist. Her Twitch numbers. She is affiliate. She's not partner, but her Fansly. Let me bring that up really quickly as well, so you can look at some of her Twitch numbers here. She is a smaller ASMRist, but she is on Twitch, but she is popular because if we look at her Fansly page, which I'm not going to show on stream, but if one would look at it, let me bring it up. Her Fansly does, look at her YouTube as well. Her Discord's around my size. Her Fansly has 37.3k followers. So she's doing quite well on there. She's got a lot of followers, and I can't even show you her Fansly because that is a anime pussy pic I am looking at currently. And then her YouTube is also small. She actually just did a debut trailer on YouTube, but she's doing it 2.0. But yeah, her Fansly is quite big. So, trying to think anything else. So they're doing auditions for set roles without a stable of creators, but have associate creators. Kind of sounds like some roles are filled. I think either she is like the 6. I think it's either that like they're looking for 5, but she's the 6, which would follow the Velour model because that's what they did. Like they have Strani and then like who's the CEO, part of Gen 1, and then there's a bunch of other additional people as well. Or she might just like be officially connected to them in some shape or capacity. But I think 5 talents and her, it would make the most sense. She also has 3k follows on Twitch as well, I will say. She is a smaller ASMRist though, like in terms of like outside of Fansly. It's a little bit like as if I started an agency is kind of what it's like. Like imagine if I bankrolled a lot of money and started an agency is a little bit the vibes. I'm going to ask some contacts who know gossip about this. If you do, don't share it in chat. Where's my agency? But AV agency, one smelly agency. Oh my god. Do you guys think I'd ever make enough money to run a company? Like, it takes so much money. It takes so much money, dude. Like, AV agency. What, anal vorgency? Yeah, so just a couple things to also compare really quickly. I want to just to kind of go through the nuts and bolts comparison of E-Roi versus Valens, who is, again, I would consider the main model. Oh my god, what is all this going on? I have no money or experience. Me neither. I believe in you, but aiming for self-sufficiency first is probably smart. Anna is her own agency. Oh my god, can I join the agency? I'm not running my own agency. It's not happening. Adult video agency, anal vorgency, anal violency. Gonna spend the money to make the money. Yet, I'm not starting my own agency. I'm not starting my own agency. Okay, so just a couple comparisons really quickly of E-Roi versus Valens. In both cases, no male talent. No male talent. Valens, the thing about them compared to E-Roi is that they outsource the merchandise to Uwu Market, but they offer a lot of bonuses if you work with them, like a lewd video game, a song cover, and with E-Roi, you don't really get those at all. You get the live 2D model like with Valens, and you get in-house merchandise. And you do get help with like sponsorships and stuff like that. This is kind of like, I would consider like the Mythic Talent extension. That's like what Mythic Talent exists for. And then you also get the same thing that Valens offers, where it's like there's literally an agency that's doing like editing, marketing, audio editing, management, script writing for you. All that stuff is offered to you. But there are some more bells and whistles that you get if you work with Valens. So E-Roi definitely does strike me as having just a little bit smaller of a budget. E-Roi also is more specific on streaming requirements. I'll go through that while I go through the audition application. Let's see. I think that's really it about like stuff on the surface. I'll give my overall opinion about E-Roi after we're done going through all the application, so folks know what's in it. And then I'll give my thoughts about like where the adult VTuber world is, because I feel like I haven't really talked about like the AVTuber industry much since the censorship stuff stopped. Like I haven't actually sat down and said like where is adult VTubing going in the agency model. So let me go through the application for E-Roi. I'm going to go through all of it. I'm going to submit a dummy copy, except I'm not actually going to submit anything, lol. And we'll go through all the questions that are asked and what's expected of you for folks here that are interested in potentially applying. Degency. Degency is a good name. I like that one. The no male thing kind of worries me as someone with a non-cis femme passing voice. Okay, so I will talk about this point really quickly. So obviously I didn't ask E-Roi whether like trans women can apply. I feel like we've already been through that conversation and it didn't end well with the last agency that I did that with. So I don't really want to put them on the spot that way. Instead, let me speak very generally here, okay? I'm going to speak very generally here, and this is going to be kind of like with the 4chan VT thing, like another like kind of truth nuke moment, okay? I think it's important for folks to understand that in the current VTubing like climate, agencies, unless they have made themselves very LGBTQ oriented and inclusive, agencies are definitely going to look for trans female talent with passing voices. Like they just are. That's just kind of the way it is. Like that's it. I think a lot of agencies that are going to specialize and focus on audio are especially going to want to have talent that have passing voices. Like when I say passing, I mean like stealth, like or could otherwise be read as like cis female. That is just kind of like the way it is right now. Like that is how it exists. I don't think it's really helpful to pinpoint a specific agency unless they're like doing something transphobic, like they are actively suggesting that they don't want trans people to apply. I think like pinpointing a specific agency and asking them or putting a lot of pressure on them kind of misses the larger cultural climate that we're in VTubing, where like this is just every agency is navigating that question. Like every agency has to navigate the climate of like culture war stuff happening in the background in VTubing, where animosity towards trans folks is happening in VTubing, and agencies are trying to think about like how can they get as many listeners as possible, and they are going to sit there and say like, oh, okay, like, you know what the key goal for us is? It's to have like very passing like voices for our trans talent, to the point where like people might not really get upset with like finding out one of our talent is trans. Like that is sort of what's happening. Like that is just the way that VTubing is. I think like if folks don't want it to be like that, I think like people should learn from my experience, and instead of pinpointing focus on a specific agency, they have to ask what's going on with the wider VTubing culture, right? Like the issue is not really like, unless an agency is going out of its way to be transphobic. Like, let me put it this way. If an agency sits there and says like our internal policy is that we are not going to hire trans people for like Gen 2, Gen 1, whenever, if that is the case in an agency, then that's a problem. Like that is transphobic. If there's like an internal policy, they've decided from the jump, we are not hiring trans talent. There's a difference between that and saying, we don't have an internal policy of not hiring trans talent. That's discriminatory and transphobic. What we have instead is trying to really hire very passing voices. That's just kind of where like dealing with the industry's listeners and viewers and fans are at this moment. Like this is not an industry where people are very accommodating to trans talent that don't have super passing voices. Like that's just the way it is. Like I'm definitely not condoning it. I'm definitely not saying it's a good thing. I think everyone here knows that like this is something that I've tried to push for change on, but it's a democratic effort. What I mean by that is like if you don't want VTubing to operate that way, like there has to be a cultural change in VTubing. So like I think it's not bad to have these questions of these agencies, like do they take trans talent, how do they feel about trans voices, but like let me put it this way. If Gen 3 rolls around for VLore and people are asking, how do you feel about trans talent? It's kind of like, well, how does HoloLive feel about trans talent? How does FaZe feel about trans talent? How does Niji Sanji feel about trans talent? How does, I don't know, like, how does Socks feel about trans talent? You know, like, and all those agencies are going to have different questions, right? Like Socks, probably going to be very inclusive. HoloLive, probably going to be like, let's see if your voice passes. Like, it really depends, you know? I'm just dumb and get bothered when these sorts of cultural issues exist within the space. I mean, yeah, and don't get me wrong. Like, I'm going to stress what I said before. There's also a difference between, like, we are generally looking for passing voices versus, like, our policy is this gen, no trans women. Like, that is discriminatory, and, like, that's a problem. But if the policy is, like, we want passing voices. If you're trans, that's fine as long as the voice sounds the certain way that we want it to. Well, that's like entertainment in general is like that. So I hope that kind of frames things a little differently, because otherwise I think it's very easy to get caught up on like this one agency or this like one specific like CEO is like a bad person, when it's like the climate every agency is trying to navigate it. I think most agencies would not be as strict about like having passing voices if VTuber fans were not the way they are. So I mean, it's a voice acting job essentially, so it does make sense if they need a specific voice for a character. Yeah, exactly. It does suck certainly, but yeah, it's a cultural trend rather than an agency, a specific agency problem. Because the problem is if you put too much pressure on an agency, like it's almost like a neoliberal solution, right? Like you miss the cultural issue. It's not like, you know, like agency A is not hiring trans talent, but everyone else is. Like it's the opposite. In a lot of situations, what's actually happening is agency A is sitting there and saying, fuck, like, we don't want to be shitty, but also like, you know, we don't want to get harassed And if we bring on a trans talent, and there needs to be a lot of care and consideration, and it needs to be thoughtful, things like that. Like, there's also that question too. Like, if it's like being a female esports player in T1, right? In tier 1. Like, the moment that you bring on a female esports player, that's it. She is the female esports player. She's not the esports player. She's the female esports player. In the same way, it's like let's say like today, like, like Violor brought on trans talent. She would be like the adult trans talent at Violor, and that would be like a culture war issue for her to navigate. So because we have seen like trans talent have to navigate that aspect by not really talking about being trans and stuff. So that's just to say it's not a bad question to have. It's just every agency is beholden to VTubing as a culture right now. And that's what it is. It happened with Scarlet and SC2 over a decade ago. I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, fuck, like, look at, like, me and Niara, right? Like, we constantly are, like, the trans VTubers. Like, we've kind of picked up the mantle from, like, Marina of being, like, the trans VTubers that are woke with it. And it's, like, people will definitely look at what me and Yara go through and say, like, I don't want that for me. And I definitely don't want it being like the trans ASMRist or whatever, which is why you commonly see trans ASMRists in the space are very discreet and quiet about their transness. So Marina, yes. Marina, the trans VTuber. Let me give her a quick. You guys definitely know her. Like, you just don't realize you know her. She's been around for a minute. I would get, like, nuked immediately at any agency due to being so open about my transness. Or a million lol. Yeah, exactly. We just got to support trans VAs who don't necessarily have passing voices and try to push cultural acceptance for it the best we can. Yeah, I mean, like, that's just the way it is, you know? Like, I think, again, like, like, what's the right way to put it? Like, I hope people understand why, like, specifically me requesting one agency to give an answer was missing the forest for the trees on this one. Like, the more immersed I am in VTuber culture, the more I kind of, like, am empathetic for any agency trying to navigate this question, because it's like, like, you bring on a trans talent, especially an openly trans talent, and, like, that openly trans talent is, like, the defining factor of your generation in your agency. So yeah, like, it's tough, it kind of blew me away how far Happy got not being out. Yeah, I mean, like, there's a lot of trans VTubers who are just very discreet about it. Like, they're just very quiet, and I do not blame them for it. Like, it's been demonstrated that it's just not great to be super out and about it. It's depressing that things felt more accepting 5 to 6 years ago. The pendulum will switch, so I wouldn't worry. I will give advice for trans ASMRists, like, what I recommend when I talk about, like, an overall look at, like, what I think AV tubing is. But yeah, so there you go. That's my take on it. I figured I might as well address it now since it did come up, but know that that's really all I gotta say about that. I think I know far more trans VTubers than cis ones at this point. That's probably more who I'm interested in checking out. Yeah, I get that. All right, so let's go through the application process. Let me drink a Gatorade, delicious, yummy Gatorade, and we'll go through everything that you would be asked. There's a good chunk of questions. So, delicious, yummy Gatorade, yummy, 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 yummy. Okay. E-Roi Generation 1 audition form. Begin your application. So there's this little notice here. E-Roi values your privacy and are committed to protecting your personal information. This data collection policy explains how we collect, use, and store the information you provide through our audition application form. Information we collect. We collect personal information you voluntarily provide, which may include your name, email address, your date of birth, country of residence, and required information. Video and audio uploads, other file uploads. How we use your information. Your information is used solely for the purpose of reviewing and evaluating your audition application. We may also use it to contact you regarding next steps or related opportunities. Data storage and access. All submissions are stored securely and accessible only to authorized staff or judges involved in the audition process. Information sharing. We do not sell, trade, or share your information of third parties outside the audition process unless required by law or with your consent. Retention and deletion. Application data may be retained for internal record keeping and future opportunities. You may request deletion of your data at any time by contacting us at E-Roi Publications Agency at gmail.com. Consent. By submitting your application, you consent to the collection and use of your information as described in this policy. Gatorade. Who's up with their Gatorade? Why is my timeline nothing but trans woman? A trans woman. So there you go. There's like a little data policy thing. They do ask you to upload some things. So yeah. Let's keep going. Okay. Required information section. This section will contain all of the required materials and information we need for your application. I don't know why I did the emoticon. Are you a female? E-Roi is exclusively looking for female talents for its talents. Again, like I mentioned earlier, I didn't ask them if like what that means. I think it's safe to suggest that probably what E-Roi is looking for if you're a trans woman is having like a quote unquote passing voice. So that's just what I would say for trans folks that are interested. Are you 18 years old or above? E-Roi is only looking for adult talents. Imagine being like, no. I feel like if you're under 18 and you're like, I'm gonna apply for this agency, you're just like, no, I'm joking because it just is like, it's just like the idea that someone would like even hit no is crazy to me. But I mean, like obviously, no, you know, they want to know in writing that you're an adult because it's an adult VTuber agency. So yeah. You have at least 3 months of streaming experience. So Valens doesn't ask for 3 months. E-Roi does. I think this would make sense with my theory that they are smaller, have a smaller budget, and they really want to make sure they are getting the best quality candidates possible. So they want to make sure folks are particularly comfortable with streaming. The impression I got of Valens looking at their FAQ is that it's a little bit more like vibes-based. Like it's basically like, well, we'll see, like, you know, if you seem comfortable streaming. Are you passionate about virtual activities and the VTubing sphere? Are you passionate about virtual activities? E-Roi is an NSFW VTuber agency. You are applying with this understanding. Again, making sure you're comfortable with what you're getting into. That's really important. Upon joining E-Roi as a talent, you'll be required to produce NSFW audio content. Do you accept these terms? Exact details will be outlined in follow-up interviews and informational packages. Again, making sure you are ready for the reality that you are an ASMR VTuber. You are creating adult content. Upon joining E-Roi as a talent, you will also have merchandise exclusivity to E-Roi for certain item types. Do you accept these terms? Exact details will be outlined in follow-up interviews and information packages. So there you go. Upon joining E-Roi as a talent, you'll be expected to stream at least 3 times a week under normal circumstances. Do you accept these terms? I think at Valens, I think it's the same amount. Let me see. Minimum of 3 streams per week. So yeah, same exact number, which makes sense. 3 is kind of the magic number of bare minimum in order to grow as a streamer. Like you need to stream 3 times a week. So there you go. The term female makes me feel worried a little, but I may be overcritical. We have definitely, Valens Gen 2 official policy is that like female means like you just sound feminine. Like, so I would assume that that's the policy here. So I remember saying I was 100 when I was young, and some sites would be like, get out of here, kid. What if you are 100 and you want to be a lewd VTuber? Oh, maybe you do. So your full legal name. I think the one thing I would say is obviously trans people haven't changed their name. This might be something that might trip you up a little bit. You might want to get in touch with E-Roi just to make sure they kind of get it, that like what's going on. But that's just one thing. Your date of birth, obviously they want to also make sure that you're an adult. Your current country of residence, this obviously is important for things like legal stuff, tax stuff, etc. Keep in mind that pornography is technically illegal to like create in certain countries, like literally, like I believe in Thailand, for example, like it's technically illegal to create porn. Oh, doesn't Japan have some weird laws? I'm not sure they're pornography laws, but obviously there's like censorship of certain stuff. Oh my God. You mean I do? Well, I'm gonna have like the full VOD also on our play most likely. So yeah, probably more like you do. The little we love we love our sussy baka Anna. I love how so Meander got flagged as restricted for saying we love our sussy baka. That's so funny. That's so funny. That's so funny. Can we unrestrict that comment? It immediately said Meander suspicious. That's so fucking funny. Oh my god. That's so fucking funny. There were a second sus has hit the Twitch stream. All right. So your current or past. We had some. It keeps on saying Meander's restricted. What the fuck? What did you do? Okay. Can someone make sure that like Meander is not restricted? Can we have a mod fix that? Your current or past content creator names. This is to confirm your internet footprint is my assumption, but also make sure, hey, like, you know, if you've done SFW content, what's up? Like, what's specifically your different, you know, profiles. Like, so I'm not going to say it, but like I did IRL sex work, or not IRL sex work. I'm sorry. I did IRL flesh tuber smut. So I have like a specific name as a sex worker that I did like on many vids and stuff. Now that doesn't necessarily, I'm not going to rate it here, but like I'm not exactly hiding it either. I just don't promote it anymore. But I think they also want to, you know, obviously like see what your internet footprint is, like cross verify stuff. Like they want to make sure you're not like a racist, you know? So your primary social media handles, obviously give them a look at who you are, what you do, things like that. Your email address, obviously anna@anna.anna is a very real email address. This is just a dummy thing. It's not actually being sent over them. Your Discord username, if applicable, obviously get in touch with you privately. Which character are you applying for? Pick as many as you'd like. So they let you apply for the 5 that are available. You get to pick and choose which one. We'll just say we'll do those 2 for the sake of going through. Required audition video. Please provide us with a link to your 5-minute or less self-introduction video for an introduction of Hello E-Roi. We love for you to use this opportunity to introduce yourself and highlight your experience or skills as a content creator. If any on-stream clips are provided, please make sure they are unedited. Once you've recorded your video, please upload it to YouTube and set the visibility to unlisted, not private or public, then share the unlisted video link with us. This is very normal, pretty expected. Yes, you do have to do an audition video. I'm going to say it right now, guys. This is the one thing I can help you with. I think I've mentioned it before on stream. The only audition like video I've ever like had any experience with was looking over a friend's Niji Sanji audition. I couldn't tell you about what a VTuber agencies specifically get really hooked on or looking for. The best advice that I would give is try to demonstrate your skills, your capacity as a voice actor, different vocal range, cool things you can do with your voice, and also what makes you a very cool, interesting, awesome, epic based VTuber, I think is the other thing I would highlight as well, and then give your audition video. So required audition script recording. Pick a script of your own choice to record. We would love to hear your voice acting skills. 2 to 3 minutes. For selecting script, we recommend using our ASMR Script Haven. So you would send in an audition. Obviously for here, I'm not gonna, don't worry, I'm not actually submitting this application. This is a dummy run through. So this is just like, you know, it's not real recording, but obviously, yes, you want to make sure that whatever script recording you sent in is something that you think personally reflects your best work, that you think also would catch their eye. The one thing that I do know about auditions is this: you basically have about 5 seconds to catch their eye, because imagine how many auditions they're going through. So especially from the jump, try to provide something that really would catch their eye. Your voice, something about you can do that others can't, something that makes you stand out, especially for the characters that you're trying to apply for. It's really, 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 really important. So that's what I would say. I'm assuming you got the vor timed out. Nom 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 nom. Thank you for removing Meander from the suspicious user list. I don't know how that happened. I don't know how that happened. That's cool they let you pick which ones, although I feel like I'd be hella confused as I tend to do better when assigned a role by someone else if it's not something I made myself. Usually in these instances, what's happening is like someone will try to like audition for a specific role or have like specific roles or ideas in mind. And then if they like your voice, but they think it's actually better for another model, they might actually talk to you about like, hey, you know, you want to apply for Y, but we think you're better as X. I believe that happened at Velor. Like, I believe one of the Gen 1 talents like applied for like A model, and they said like, we really like you for B, so do you want to do B? Might have been Shibi, I forget, because Shibi kind of switched over from just being a mommy dom to like a lolly. So your PC specifications. Why would they ask for this? It's not because they're going to steal your computer. They want to make sure that you are set and ready to go, like, for VTubing. They want to make sure that you do not need any upgrades. You do not need, like, a better computer, especially, like, you know, for the specific kind of work you're going to do. They want to make sure you have a fast, ready-to-go computer, handles VStudio well, VTube Studio, all those things well. So you would give them their computer specs, your capturing device. Please let us know what you current use to capture yourself, VTuber model for your streaming content. Again, they just want to know. They want to make sure, like, are you familiar with like good capture stuff? Do you need equipment upgrades? Because I believe they do offer that. Let me double check. Pre-debut help. Any equipment purchases that may be needed before debut. Yeah. So this is also for them to basically confirm, hey, like, do we need to buy you stuff? Like, and that's fine, but we need to know. So, what's your internet speed? This one might strike people as really funny that they would want to know. They literally want to know whether you can stream consistently or not, whether you can have a good bit rate when you stream. So, and they want to get it straight from the source and want to hear, like, you know, because some people don't really understand this stuff. Like, Zoomers might not fully get it. So they really want to make sure you have consistent upload time, that you are going to have a consistent internet connection to stream. FAQ section. This section will contain questions for us to get to know a bit more about you. Oh. What makes you want to become a corporate VTuber? So I looked at some of these questions. I'm not sure how many of them are potentially inspired by other agencies. That part I don't know. But what makes you want to become a corporate VTuber? This is a really good opportunity to really show like that you are comfortable with the agency model. I think what I would recommend at this point is to really comprehend that what you are working for is a company and an agency. I'll talk a little bit more about what that means, but just make sure, you know, they are going to be looking for someone who's professional, someone who is able to handle a professional environment. Hey, Train Master, hello. I'd be so screwed there. My ISP sucks. How you doing, Train Master? I've thought about getting a secondary router for my job. Could be helpful. What makes me want to be a corporate VTuber? It's FinDom. Yeah, I would not rate like dumb money here. I think they're going to want something a little bit more than like dumb money. What are your goals? Excuse me. And what'd you like to achieve? Now, I think here being honest about like I would like a good, stable, full-time VTubing position is good, but that's not going to be the only thing. Like that is not going to be the only thing that really gets you in the door with E-Roi. So this is a good opportunity to really seriously think, what are you trying to get with this agency if you apply? Like, what are your long-term goals? How would you handle disagreement with management? This one stuck out to me. I think it's really interesting, but I think it's a really especially important one. They want to make sure you're professional, right? They want to make sure that you can communicate, that if you're having issues with management, that it happens. They want to make sure that you're not the type to just like go like blab about internal stuff at the agency. This is a lot more common than people think. I would argue that's what really got Twisty in trouble with Niji Sanji, is like she was just telling her friends, like, here's what's going on, here's what's going on, here's what's going on. If you work for an agency, you're probably going to sign an NDA. And if you sign an NDA is not a non-disclosure except to your buddies agreement. It is a non-disclosure agreement. You're not talking to people about what happens. So I would definitely stress in this one, you're professional, you understand what happens in the company stays in the company. You understand that, like, you know, communication is king. If you have an issue, you talk about it. You understand and know your boundaries. You understand and know what your deal breakers are. And that if you have a problem with management, it stays in the company. That's stuff that they're going to want to hear. They don't want the dirty laundry aired. I do think a lot of VTubers are younger and they struggle with this, or they've never had like a full-time job and they struggle with this, because this does happen. This does happen. And you do want to make sure you set the standard that you're going to be a good communicator. Do you speak any other languages besides English? So I just said Rus here because, you know, I do speak a little bit of Russian, although I just put Rus. Привет, как дела? Хорошо. Do you have any skills that can help you as a content creator, streamer? Singing, voice acting, video editing, other. Those are all options. Are you currently affiliated with or under contract with any company or agency for VTuber entertainment related work? This obviously is going to be a particularly important question for an agency like this, because they're going to want to make sure that you can cleanly work with them if they take you on, that you're not kind of like double dipping, that you can maybe graduate or terminate from working with another agency if you want to work for E-Roi. I would be shocked if any like current corpo VTubers are watching this or gonna watch this when it's up, but for you guys, keep in mind that this does happen. Like, people do like graduate, like people do shop around while they're with another agency. But I probably at this point, you don't need to hear that from me. But if anything, I'd be like, why are you getting this from me? Like, you know, more than I do. But this is something that happens. They do want to make sure, though, like if that's the case, they're going to want to have a good conversation with you about especially optics, how that might work, or it might not be a good fit. I would definitely recommend more in this case. I think independent folks should really be the ones that are auditioning for places like this, because keep in mind, especially if you're not currently an AV-tuber, it's going to be such a change. Are you currently auditioning for any other VTuber entertainment related companies or agencies? They obviously want to know if you're shopping around, if you're looking around a little bit. I recommend being honest. Are you comfortable singing in group covers? Are you comfortable singing? Not everyone is the best at singing. I do find that like with VTubers, generally speaking, there is a lot of leniency for people that don't have trained singing voices, and there is a lot of technology that can help with that if you're not the best singer in the world. So don't let this deter you, as long as you're comfortable learning a bit. Have you worked with other content creators in the past? You know, have you collabed? Have you done like work together with them? They want to see your industry experience. They want to see how professional you are. They want to know, like, do you have experience, like, you know, like handling conflict with collab partners? Have you ever produced any NSFW content? Obviously, this is really important. They want this. Like, they are stressing that you need to have prior work experience in NSFW. What type of NSFW work have you produced? So you can select art, audio streams, other. What kind of NSFW audio content are you comfortable producing? Please list out tags that you personally enjoy recording. For folks here that are a little confused what this means, literally ASMR tags. We're talking about things like, you know, like, if it was for me, like maybe I'd write out like Fuda, Noncon, Somno, Monster Girl, Giantess, Vor. That's what they mean by tags. They mean like literally these things that are going to be going on a Patreon audio, that are going to be going on a place like Gone Wild Audio, etc., etc. Literally tags for different kinks. What type of content would you like to do in E-Roi? Audios, gaming streams, chatting streams, collaborations, merchandising, other. It's important to note that just because you're an AV-tuber doesn't necessarily mean that all you're doing is adult things. Like, they are streaming on YouTube. We have seen a lot of adult VTubers that will do things like, hey guys, today I'm just playing like this game and I'm gonna be a little lewd about it. But that happens all the time. Keep in mind that if you are applying for an adult VTuber agency, you do get to have the perks of doing things like gaming streams, or like, today I'm building a thing out of stuff. Like Legos. I don't know. Like, you have that opportunity to do that. But also there's the bare minimum expectation of, you know, you're doing adult ASMR content stuff. So. Do you need any equipment upgrades? If so, please list. This can be ASMR microphones, USB mics, PC upgrades, capturing device upgrades, etc. Obviously, what they do is get you set up and ready to go so you consistently can stream. This is where all the prior qualifications that you put together come in handy, because if you have like maybe not the best computer in the world, what they might say is, look, like, you're clearly set up to VTube in an independent capacity, but with us, we will get you the equipment you need. You're ready to go. Here's like $1,000 for a good computer. Here's, you know, an iPhone so you can go stream. And that's it. If you've reached the end, if you have any other comments or anything else you'd like to tell us, please tell us below. That's 41 questions and you're done with the application. I am not going to press OK because it will submit it. But that's the application. 41 questions, pretty straightforward. Like any audition for any VTuber agency, you have to do the video audition. You also do have to do like some audio recording, and you should be prepared to have some honest answers about like how you would actually manage and navigate professional adult VTuber life within an agency. But it is, in my opinion, pretty straightforward. I don't think it's that challenging of an application. It's a bit more in depth than most I've seen. Like Hollow Lives is not quite this in depth, but I think they really want to select and make sure they have quality candidates before they move forward. Nothing I really saw in there otherwise. Specifically, like no real alarm bells one way or another. Everything there is pretty straightforward and pretty understandable. And makes a lot of sense for an adult VTuber agency of that approach and caliber. Let's see. Let me catch up with chat. Hey, Puns. How you doing? Let me catch up with chat a bit. Now is a great opportunity if you have any questions also to run them through chat right now, because we have we're nearing, like, we've kind of gone through like the Q&A, the FAQ. We're going to move on after I go through the initial questions here to more like the speculative part, where we're going to talk about like, where is adult VTubing headed? Where is the ASMR agency headed? Like, what's coming next? So, yeah. Still love what you said, Chloe. What makes me want to be a corporate VTuber? It's fandom. The fame. Yeah, but like the established supporting community that comes with a corporate group is a really good thing to say. Yeah, absolutely. You want to say like, hey, like I want the things that the, say, you know, a corporate agency can provide, like, is really important to me. Would you say it'd be good or not great to say you want to gather skills and connections to eventually go independent if that's what you want? How open can you be about your own career ambitions with this type of agency? I mean, VLore has been pretty open about the fact that what they see is sort of like they are getting your numbers up and getting you like popular. And then it becomes a question of how much more can they really do for you, is sort of the impression I've gotten from them, because they've encouraged people who are already popping off not to apply because they'll just sit there and say, we can't do anything for you. But I wouldn't say for either VLore or E-Roi, any agency like this, that your goal is to basically use them as a stepping stone to go indie. Like, I think it's a little bit understood that that's always in the cards, but I wouldn't say it out loud because it makes it sound like you're just there to like get your bag and get out, which, you know, they want to look for someone who believes in what the agency is doing, the mission, what the culture, what that agency has to offer. I remember Nintendo fired a voice actor post-launch for violating NDA. Companies take that seriously. Companies take NDA very seriously. I think some VTubers take it seriously and some don't. Please be careful. Like, don't blab. Don't blab about stuff under NDA. Like, ever. Never, ever. The money? The resources? Yes. Curious if they would count other things like non-VTuber stuff if they get you in trouble. Oh, what do you mean by that, Chloe? What do you mean by that again? I just realized I technically do have that with my former dance group, though they're just like, can't be the same persona. How far do these places like you to go, or do they have things they tend not to like? It is hard to say because it's important to understand that like we've only seen a couple of these agencies pop up, but like what I have seen is like they're pretty open to a lot of different kind of stuff. Like we have like kind of amputation play and VLore, we have a Tailvor. In Promisu, we have a literal Giannis Vor tuber, like someone who likes doing Giannis content and Vor content. So keep in mind that like it's pretty common in these agencies to be pretty open-minded. Just know that like they themselves might have limitations to what they can actually let you do on like Patreon. Like they might say like, we are so down with so many kinks, but you are not doing Erogero on Patreon. You know, like just keep in mind that there might be limitations for like what is feasible, and they might want you to suggest tags that play by Patreon's rules. Like they might be looking to make sure that you're someone who is like understanding what an adult VTuber agency on YouTube and Patreon can do versus one that can't. So I would definitely like be careful about using words like I don't know, like I think even some of the tags that I listed, like Somno or Intox, I might not necessarily list, but I would list stuff like, like Vor, Giantus, Fuda, etc. Like those I think would be very good to list if that's something you can do. Can watch a girlie play Dead by Daylight with her tits out. Like, actually, though. I'm back. What I missed, we went through the whole entire application. We went through all the questions. So don't worry. I'll be uploading that part later. I, too, like building things out of stuff. I do like how in-depth it is, even if some things rub me a bit weird. They do ask a lot of questions, which is really good. Feels like a good indication of professionalism, even if it'd be even better if more transparency regarding the profit split and who's behind the agency. I do feel like it's a very considered and like measured application form to fill out, which is pretty good. Like it's pretty promising that it's like that in depth. Like this is an agency that's like seriously thinking about like what working with them they want you to think about what working with them would be like, and they want you to give good answers based on your understanding of what a professional and good corporate environment would be. Honestly, if I filled that out, I'd just say I would do it to make new friends, TBH, since I think that sort of community aspect is one thing that corporates can allow. What's the following size creator schedule you think is ideal to jump into a group like this? That is a great question. I'm going to talk about that in a second as part of like my wrap up of discussing E-Roi. So hold on to that thought because I will talk a little bit about that. Yeah, if you sign a legal agreement, you got to make sure you're following that. It's just, you can't blame every VTuber because there are a lot of VTubers who literally have never worked like a professional job before. They don't understand like what an NDA truly is. They might not even be aware when they're breaking it, and they certainly might not be aware that like when you talk to one person, like you just kind of violate the NDA rule. Like in the sense that like, let me put it this way. Like if I talk to Jane about something that I'm under NDA before, because I'm under NDA for because I am under NDA for certain things. If I tell Jane that one thing, there's a chance that 10 people learn what has been told to Jane, because she might blab to someone and that person might blab to someone. And so like the moment that you blab to one person, even if it's someone you trust, you've broken the NDA, and there could be serious like ramifications for that as a result. So I don't think a lot of VTubers understand that. They think like, oh, like, but this is my bestie, I can trust them with anything. And then what happened to someone like Twisty is that everything that she blabbed while playing League or whatever got leaked. So, and I'm not even sitting here defending like what Twisty said, but Twisty, said all sorts of stuff that she shouldn't have to her friends about the internals at Niji Sanji because it put her job in danger. And so don't be like that. Non-disclosure means no disclosing. Yeah, it doesn't mean like disclose to people I like. It means don't talk about it. Like, because the moment you do, you never know who's going to hear about it, so just don't disclose things. With the if non-VTuber contracts would be a problem, I mean, like if I had a contract at a comic book artist, just saying that because I'm considering that as well. I mean, I think in a situation like that would be fine. I think what they really want to make sure is that there's no like awkward situation where like you're in negotiation with like Phase Connect. Phase Connect obviously has their like new gen about to drop, but you're in like a negotiation of Phase Connect, and then you also want to do E-Roi. Like they want to make sure there's no awkwardness like that. NDAs are serious, so don't yap. That's so true. Non-disclosure means is shut the fuck up Friday every day for you. Yeah, absolutely. Like that stuff leaks, and it leaks to journalists and like content creators and all sorts of things. So like don't. If you're under an NDA, like you don't tell anybody about that. Like you just don't do it. Please don't do it. Okay. So, that is, do not tell Anna about your NDAs. I mean, okay. If someone breaks NDA to tell me something, like, I usually am pretty clear with them, like, you shouldn't have said that. But, people just be unprofessional. And people hear stuff. People just say stuff because they don't care. VTubing is just also, like, it's just full of younger people that, again, have not worked in a professional work environment before. So stuff like that just happens in VTubing. So, breaking NDA to say my gossip girlies didn't have any gossip. Yeah, it just stuff leaks is sort of the moral of the story. So like don't tell people things. Like don't so yeah. But like I'm pretty serious about stuff if people like accidentally break their NDA to me or not so accidentally. I usually try to like protect them by like, you know, not repeating what they told me, because it's really risky the moment that happens, like for all parties. You don't want to be the person that's responsible for someone losing their job. So I usually take that shit seriously if someone tells me some shit. But people just like be saying stuff is unfortunately the reality. Okay, so E-Roi, should you apply? What's the vibes? What's going on with these folks? What's up? What's up with E-Roi? All right. So, let's talk. Let's talk a little bit about E-Roi. After I burp. Okay. So, here's how I personally feel. I feel like this is a little too distracting. I'm gonna go to the character gallery instead. I'm gonna pull up my favorite, which is Alexandrate. I think she's really cool. Okay. She's like the Dom. She's like the Dommy one. Okay, so my feelings though about E-Roi and my suggestions. So first of all, I did mention I'm not gonna audition for E-Roi, which is why I'm doing this stream in the first place. And so I'm going to explain really quickly why I, as an ASMRist, don't want to apply for E-Roi. So I thought about this last year. Like, do I want to apply to a VTuber agencies? And there's a couple motivating reasons why I've never done it. A big one is just like navigating the trans talent question sounds like really messy, and it's not really something that like I want to put resources to figuring out whether like an agency thinks my voice is based or cringe. But the other thing too is that and I think this is, you know, it's not like E-Roi has said this, but I think it's kind of obvious reading between the lines. When you are working for an adult VTuber agency, what you're mainly doing is going to be FRM. FRM is the biggest audience. It is a core market to successfully, market yourself to. It's a core demographic that has a lot of good strategy and research available. And pretty much any ASMRist that's working in, you know, VTubing today is an FRM ASMRist. Like, at the end of the day, what they're doing is FRM content. Even the ones that like do a little bit of F for A, do a little bit of F for F, they all end up doing FRM in some shape or form. And you guys know me, like I have nothing against FRM. I've even like enjoyed some FRM creators before. There's a lot of really talented FRM ASMRists out there, but you guys know me. I don't believe in doing FRM. Like, it's really important to me to show that FRF is something you can do as an ASMRist and successfully build an audience. Like, you can be an FRF like Mommy Dom or like Fuda Girl or whatever, Yandere, and like you can make a living off of that. So for me, it feels like if I applied for any agency that was doing FRM, which is just any agency, it feels like what I would basically be saying is bye-bye, like FRF, no. So it feels really antagonistic to like the whole point of my ASMR career, which is to show like if you build it, they will come. If you do F for F consistently and you create good content, you market yourself, you create it for an F for F audience, like you will have an F for F audience. Like people will show up and give you money. And I found that to be true. Like I make like via my ASMR right now, I make like 500, like 300 from Patreon, about 150 from Subscribestar, and then $100 from like layovers from Fansly. And that's not including anyone who's coming in at Twitch to like sub. And those numbers have been going up. Like I've been getting more and more subscribers over time. So, and more like monthly income from that. So it's something that I've found is true. Like people want F for F content. And my long-term goal is not to have her numbers, but to sort of be like the cottontail of F for F, right? Like to show that like you can build a ASMR career as a professional VA doing F for F and like be recognized as like this talented like F for F ASMRist. Like that is the goal, you know? So So for me to do one of these agencies, like I would be shocked if E-Roi said like we don't really care what your focus is, like we'll do F4F, we'll do F4A, whatever. I'm expecting E-Roi is also going to be F4M, because if I was going to start an agency, I would make it an F4M agency if what my goal was just to plug in and make sure I could connect with the biggest audience possible. Like I would personally like to create an F4F agency, but the market clearly shows that F4M is the most profitable right now. So it would make the most sense in the climate that we're in to create an F4M agency and wait for the F4F market to be more established before creating an F4F agency. Does that make sense? Like an F4F agency is something that would make more sense like 5 years from now, not today. But an F4M agency makes a lot of sense if you're going to be an ASMR adult VTubing agency, because that's where all the money is and that's where all the established strategy is. That's where like you're going to make the most bang for your buck. It is like, you know, it's like opening a hamburger store, like shop in America. Like everyone in America loves burger. Like of course you're gonna open a burger place in America, because burger there, people love burger. It's America, it's burgerland. So that is just sort of how it is. So so that's half the reason why I don't really like to apply for agencies. The other half is I really like my independence. I like doing whatever the fuck I want, whenever I want. I stream as much or as little as I want. I do as much or as little as ASMR as I want. I don't have a boss. I don't have anyone that does anything for me. Like I just vibe. I like that independence a lot. It feels good. I feel like maybe I would not be great under an agency. I think I have problems with authority. So I don't think I'd be a good agency talent, which is why I never apply to agencies. I think it's pretty obvious that like I'm not built for that life. Yeah. Creative freedom is something I like a lot. So this is why I don't really apply for these agencies. That said, if you want to apply to be working with an adult VTuber agency, here's what I would say. I took some time to think about this a little bit, and the landscape where it is today, here's what I would say. So, at this point in time, you need to understand, first of all, that the adult VTubing kind of agency sphere is not where it was like even just 2 years ago. Like it is rapidly changing very quickly. And what I mean by that is we kind of have like these 3 agencies now that exist: Valens, Promisu, and now we have E-Roi. And that's not including things like ASMR groups like VKISS. We're not even going to talk about that, although obviously VKISS is a thing and there's a lot of popular ASMRs there. What I would say is this. I think basically at this point, if you want to, let me get up MS Paint. Classic MS Paint moment for me. If you want to apply for an agency, you basically have 3 options in today's age. Like in terms of like current year, 2025, October, like there are 3 options you can always plan for. And that is, I already did it wrong. That's Valens, E-Roi, and Promisu. This is sort of like what's in front of people as options right now in 2025. And here's what I would say. I think there's inevitably going to be a Gen 3 for Valens, and I think if anyone who's like, if you're like, what's the right way to put it? I think if you're someone who's like Twitch partner, or your CCV is like 75 plus, I think like I would just go apply here. Like this is where I would start. If I was you, because you have experience, you have a brand, but most importantly of all, the application numbers for this agency keep going up and up and up. And then when they inevitably do a Gen 3, because I think it's inevitable they will, that generation is going to have so many people applying. So you really need to demonstrate that you are like experienced, that you are someone who is really worth taking on. So this is for like, you know, like growing, established talent. I would not recommend people that are like very new to ASMR to apply unless you have a lot of good skills, like you have prior acting skills, or there's something special that you bring to the table, because, or like maybe you fit like the specific genre they're looking for. Because it's just going to be really challenging. Like it's just going to be really challenging. It's such a high profile agency now. There's a lot of interest in it, and there's a lot of people that have interest in applying to it. I literally was like giving advice to an ASMRist about applying back in the spring because she was interested and she was around these numbers. Like that is who you're dealing with at that point. The competition is way too strong. So if you're already here, like I think you should just go ahead and apply. The bells and whistles that they offer combined with the visibility is really good. We're talking about like an easy 200 CCV bare minimum no matter what. Concurrent viewers on YouTube, things like that. So it's pretty good. Promisue, I'm just going to jump to them right away. I think Promisue is going to do a next gen. I think it's inevitable. Promisue does tend to have multiple gens. So I would say this is really good if you're like growing but new. But newer. And your passion is like ASMR but more. I really like the Promisue talent I follow. I really like because, hey Graham, how are you? We're talking about like applying to adult VTuber / ASMR agencies. Promisue, I really like a lot. They're EN like first gen, but what I like about their talents is that they aren't really just ASMRists. Like they have a lot of freedom to do all sorts of fun, cool things. They're a little degen. They're a little like, these are the folks that like really like visual novels or stuff, or like they're just really like they're a little off the beaten path. Like this is really good if like you're a little newer and you're like looking for variety. So like I think, to be honest, if there was an agency that would be the best fit for me, it probably would be Promisue, because I am a variety streamer. Like I don't just do like 4 and that's it. I don't just do F for F and that's it. Like I do these streams. E-Roi is kind of in this awkward position between the two. So we have like these two over here. And the awkward position E-Roi is in is that essentially it's not really established. Not established. Not. It's just not fully transparent. Like we really don't know who the fuck E-Roi's staff is. Like we just don't really know that yet. We don't really know like the relationship between like the ASMRist that has an E-Roi connection and like what's going on. I suspect it's a Stronny situation where she's the owner, but it's just hard to say. And we do love visual novels. That's so true. What if you are a published author for adult novels? Where would I fit? There's not really anything like that in VTubing, because all 3 of these groups are ASMR groups. Like everything here is like ASMR. Like if you're working for one of these agencies, you're doing voice acting. You're an ASMRist. So now if you're like also like an erotica writer and you can read your erotica on stream, that's amazing and epic and based, as long as it's like not on like Twitch. But yeah, like no matter what you're doing, ASMR here. And the other problem with E-Roi is how does it stand out? So I mentioned this earlier, right? VLore is kind of like PUBG. It's like showing that like Battle Royale works. You can make it happen. And Promisue is sort of like, I don't want to say Fortnite, because that implies like Promisue is a direct competitor to VLore, and that's not really fully what's going on. Like Promisue is much smaller. And there's also like a lot of like between these two agencies, like they get along well. But what I would say is more like Promisue is kind of like maybe like Daisy. Promisue is like Daisy. It's in the sense that like it technically predates VLore. Promisue existed before that agency, but like the standalone version's out, and like it's tried to kind of, I don't know if Daisy's like a good comparison. Promisue is just a little different. Like what it's doing is a little different. It's not exactly a direct competitor. Like it's not Fortnite. It's not Apex. Like it's not a direct like shot to competing with Vialore in the sense that like Promosu offers something that gives Vialore a run for its money. They're kind of more like perpendicular to each other as opposed to parallel where they're competing. It's just very different. Like maybe I would almost say like what Promosu is it's just not a battle royale mode at all. It's like fucking playing like Call of Duty or Valorant. Also for clarity, DayZ, like not, yes, exactly like that, like DayZ. So I don't know, like it's hard to even like kind of directly compare it. Now E-Roi, I think the problem that this agency is going to face is that it needs to be Apex in this analogy, or Fortnite, or any other battle royale game like that has given PUBG a run for its money, because what makes this agency unique, you know, like what makes it an agency that I want to tune into, especially if I like those two talents are like overlapping with each other. Like why would I go watch E-Roi over Vialore, you know? So I think this is another serious kind of question that anyone who wants to apply for this agency is going to have to ask themselves, like, what makes the agency unique? Is there something that makes the agency unique? The only things I've seen so far is they have a pretty cohesive idea for their Gen 1, which we usually don't see like super strong cohesion in like branding with like Vialore or Promosu. Like they don't really have like a core theme, whereas this is all like tarot. Like tarot is our big theme, and jewels and minerals. Like it's got that going on. Like it's got like this sort of like more idle feeling. And E-Roi can also offer in-house merchandise, but that's really it. And those are not big polls. Like those are not big things that make E-Roi stand out significantly compared to the competition. And it might strike you all as a little mean to do this for an agency that's new, but like we're talking business here, right? We're talking people thinking about where they're going to be in like 4 or 5 years or 2 years or 1 year or whatever. Like what is the plan? And I think that this is something that anyone applying for an agency should be thinking, like, what is this agency going to do to make me a good competitor to what's out there? I can think of a lot of different examples. I think they, I think E-Roi could get really good script writers and have like really good ASMR voice acting and talent that could really give a run for its money to Promosu and Vialore by just like being able to say like, we've got such good fucking files to listen to. I think that what they do if their models could be more GFE or roleplay oriented. A common criticism against Vialore is that does feel a little bit like talent is just kind of vibing, and I think like a more focused, centralized, like measured approach from E-Roi can make it stand out. But in the meantime, this is a really important question to ask. What's going to make this agency stand out? What is it going to be? Apex? Is it going to be Fortnite? Or is it going to just feel like a PUBG clone? Is kind of what's going on here. So E-Roi needs a battle pass. How you know people when they could just play Fortnite? Yeah, exactly. How could you just? What if instead of watching VTubers, you just play Fortnite? Chat. They're like that magic themed battle royale that's gone now. Oh my god. That one was interesting too. Spellbreak. I played a little bit of that with a games journalist friend a while ago. But yeah, I mean like that's the big question they're going to have to figure out. How do they stand out? So, here's what I would say if you want to apply. I would say E-Roi is really good. If you're like growing but experience 20-30 CCV, 1 to 2 years ASMR. Basically what I'm saying is like someone that's like me. Maybe they're making like 300 a month from Patreon, 20-30 CCV anytime they go stream, no matter what. They've been doing it for a little bit, but not that long. I think that this is a really good opportunity for them. I think if you are kind of where I am, where it's like you're just starting to take off, you're just flapping your wings, like I think E-Roi could be really good for you because they will be able to get you to that next level. But it's really hard to think unless we really start to see like them pop off and we start to see like what specifically makes them stand out. You know, it's hard to really make them like it doesn't really feel like E-Roi is going to be like Valor 2.0. Like I don't think that's really a reasonable expectation. You know, like these guys really kind of brought something new to ENV tubing when they started this. And so it's been established. So it's not really realistic to expect to get like an easy 300 CCV just for like existing in E-Roi. I think it's going to be an agency that's known for having like a smaller following, not as high CCV, but still punches above its weight. Like that's the impression I'm getting with this agency. If everything works out, if it succeeds, if everything is looking good with it, then this is probably more what it's going to be like. It's probably going to be a smaller agency, and Promisu EN kind of has that vibe as well, where it's like they are doing good, but like they're just not going to be Valor, and that's fine. Like they're just a little bit smaller, and that's fine. So I think with E-Roi, that's what I would say. I think if you're like growing, if you're new but not that new, if you have an audience, a fan base, a loyal following, but you really want to take it to the next level, I think that's probably what you want to do. If you are at this level, like if you're doing like Ember numbers, if you're doing like Pubby numbers, like I would not apply for E-Roi. I would apply for Valor. Or maybe Promisu if you want to change of pace. But yeah, I would not do E-Roi. I think it's just, unless if this agency pops off, then Gen 2 might be different. But that's kind of the impression I'm getting based on what I've seen, because I think like the opportunity to get in with an agency like this was like 2024. Yeah, 2024. And it's not really going to be like, oh, we're a new adult VTuber agency, and then like bam, $5 bajillion. So that's what I would say. To my advice about growing as an Giant. So that's my advice. If you want to apply, this is what I would do. If you're a bigger creator, but you really need that push into to be in a 3-view Valor, if you want to do variety content, but it being a little bit with a smaller agency is fine. Promisu. Especially if you want to do a lot of like NSFW and safer work. And then if you're kind of just starting out, but you have some experience under your belt, I would go with E-Roi. I think that's where I recommend going. The main issues that this company sees faces in my eyes is it's not fully transparent. The 80-20 revenue issue is definitely a big one if they can't accomplish that. It's not fully established, and it's just we really have to see like how's the performance, how's the work. I think if E-Roi also has really good VTuber models, that could really make it stand out, and make it a really successful agency. But also, unfortunately, like we just don't really know how E-Roi is gonna stand out yet, and if its way of standing up and getting people to view is just we are an adult VTuber agency, then unless the talent they bring in is really strong or really good, or the content that they do is really strong or really good, then it really is a crapshoot. No one really knows how E-Roi is going to respond and perform until we actually see who works there, which is really a game of fate. We don't really know. How do one get started doing ASMR? I actually did a whole entire stream on that on my art play. So go check out my link tree if you want to see like how to get started doing ASMR. That was a stream I did 2 weeks ago, and it's a full guide to getting started in ASMR. Is what you need to know. So in terms of, with this out of the way, in terms of where I see the future of the ASMR agency approach going, I've talked a lot about this, and I kind of want to talk about this. Yeah, we can't technically link out to our play on here. So I've talked a lot about my personal feelings about where the adult VTuber ASMR kind of industry is going here and there in the past. And so I want to talk about that a little bit here, like what I think the future is, because I think it's a good wrap up for this conversation and also captures my feelings a bit about where the industry is going for adult VTubers. So, for example, I'm doing the time-honored holiday tradition for adult trans creators tomorrow. Based. I know exactly which one you are doing. Have fun. Have fun with your pumpkin. Say hello for me. Enjoy. And a Twitch showing their pro SA since they don't defend content creators, so linking to new blue site should be fine. Oh my lord. Say hello to her for me when you're done. This is gonna be her after. Also for gender essentialism reasons, let's just give her a little bow. No, everyone knows that she's a girl. Yeah, there you go. There you go. She's a girl pumpkin. Classic. You want me to carve you onto one? You know what? I'm going to say yes. I would be honored. That would be based in Whoops Epic. Carve me onto one. I would love to see that. You've got 6 pumpkins? Put me on one. I want to see it. Please do. I would love that. Lesbian pumpkin is so real. There are many such cases. We fucking love a lesbian pumpkin. Also, Kika, if you don't find it right away, hit me up after stream, Discord, or Twitter, Blue Sky, etc., and I'll link you to that Our Play video if you can't find it. So let me talk briefly about what I think the future of adult VTubing is, especially when it comes to these agencies. So I think this is like a good way to cap it off. It's almost like where to begin, because I think, okay. T for P transfer pumpkin. So true. I think with these adult VTubing I think it faces some unique challenges that not everyone has been fully thinking about long term. So I think there's kind of 3 paths forward. I'm going to kind of draw a timeline to represent each one. I'll talk about them. Whoops. It's pink. Lol. I'm going to draw like 3 timelines and talk about like where I think everything is kind of going based on these timelines. So, let's see. Okay. And so this is 1, 2, 3. So I think what we might see is, first of all, I'm going to say 1 is like the dark timeline. This is like the dark timeline. And I think what we might see in the dark timeline is essentially this. Agency fails, agency fails, agency fails, agency fails. I think the agency model is coming under a lot of scrutiny and the economy is not looking that great. And so one thing I'm concerned about with the adult VTubing market when it comes to agencies is that I think it's possible that agencies will not be immune to economic downturn in the way that individual adult VTubers might be. Like they might lose income, but they might be able to weather the storm. I think the moment that we're talking about investors and where's the money coming from, how much, like, what's the overhead, how much money do you actually need to function, the moment that there starts to be an income decline, you start getting this to happen. You start getting this to happen. You start getting this to happen. And I think one of the risks that folks might run into is the smaller an agency is, the more that it might not be making a significant profit where this is going to happen, where this is going to happen, where this is going to happen. There's another thing that makes this the dark timeline, which is not just the question, I'll say, like, economy here. There is also the issue of pay pros. I think I've talked to a lot of people about this, and there is a real anxiety that one day there is just going to be like censorship of different kind of like of different content, different market approaches, different tags, or just like Patreon starts clearing house for ASMR, YouTube becomes less friendly to ASMR. I'm not going to beat around the bush on this one. A lot of ASMRists have faced significant scrutiny and censorship from YouTube. Strawny herself literally got like in YouTube jail for breathing. I do think that this is a very likely thing to happen, which is the censorship of these adult VTuber agencies that are on YouTube. Like, I just think anyone that's doing ASMR on YouTube is at a lot of risk. I think Promisu being like an Rplay agency is very smart, because I think Rplay is going to grow in popularity over time. Like, I think it's going to become more and more popular, because what you need to understand is Rplay is a Korean venture, and it's kind of run almost like an afterthought in some ways. Like, it's just kind of exists. Like, it's not like it's just kind of vibing. And it's gotten some scrutiny around like its TOS for that reason, because its TOS is very bare bone, but it's not an American company. Like, it's not an American content creation venture. And they're very open about all sorts of content on there. It's why you'll see, for instance, a lot of lolicon content that will hit Rplay. So I think Rplay, for example, has a lot of good potential over time to host ASMRs long term, which is why I'm doubling down on putting my content, excuse me, I didn't mean to do that, my content on there, because I think long term, my content is going to be seen more on Rplay as Rplay becomes more of a refugee spot for YouTubers. It's really trying to be like a VTuber ASMR site, and it's already been successful as like a ASMR place in Japan and Korea. Now, one of the problems though with a lot of for both E-Roi and Valens is that they did not decide to go through Rplay. They decided to go through YouTube or Twitch, in E-Roi's case, like YouTube and Twitch combined. So they're particularly at risk of this censorship. Also combined, keep in mind, with the fact that they're also reliant on Patreon. You know, if you're like subbing to like Uriel on like from Promasu on Rplay, like you just have to be on Rplay. And as long as Rplay continues to be very accommodating and low censorship, like it's in the bag. It's like so free. Besides, all her audios are like always popping up on the homepage because she's, you know, an agency corpo VTuber. Like, it plays very well for her. She gets promoted and stuff like that. I think this censorship stuff could really lead to a situation where agencies, like economic downturn with losing opportunities to promote their content, this is definitely an existential threat to adult EN VTubing. Like, ASMRists will be fine, and anyone that use Fansly will be fine. Well, not Fansly, but, you know, like, I think independent ASMRists, independent adult content creators using sites like Fansly or OnlyFans will be able to figure out, like, how to keep themselves afloat, being one individual that is, like, navigating the system. When you're talking a whole company with tons of talent and people's salaries and investor money, that is really difficult. Like, that's a big ship that has to steer. Like, that's not one person can be nimble. A agency is like a ship. Like, it cannot be as nimble. It has to make business decisions and decide where it's going to be over a couple of years. And running an adult venture, when censorship is such an issue right now with the PayPro stuff especially, is very risky, combined with what's very obviously coming as an American economic downturn. Like, I think everyone here can agree that Black Friday is going to be the beginning of people realizing we're in an American recession. And so I do think it's very likely that this is kind of like the timeline we're going to enter. Like, we're going to be in the one timeline where it's like we start to see in general agencies fail, but adult VTuber ventures, you know, maybe like this over here might not be like Black Friday. I think that would be completely insane. But like, I think you guys can see how it's like a two-front war that like E-Roi and Valens are facing here, right? So this is really dangerous for both of them. I think that this is the timeline that we're going to enter into. I think we're going to simultaneously see like lewd tubing goes up, but like agencies go down. And I don't think that lewd tubing agencies in the US, or rather in the Anglosphere, are particularly immune to all of these things we're discussing over here. So I think this is a potential issue for these agencies. I think this is something that anyone applying for any adult venture should keep in mind. Honestly, the only adult agency that I think is going to survive any of this is potentially Promasu, as long as its internals and the way that Promasu itself runs is okay. I think if Promasu's internals fall apart, like if there's issues internally of Promasu, I'm not saying that there is, I'm not saying that I'm privy to anything, but if Promasu has mismanagement issues, then it could become an issue for them as well. But in terms of outside stressor factors, running an adult business, that's very new and is kind of like a startup, is very risky right now. Like, it's just very, very risky because the atmosphere is becoming more censorious because, you know, like it's strip clubs. It's the time. It's strip clubs are empty vibes right now. Like the money's not fully there where it could be. So I think that is just an issue that these agencies potentially face. That's like the dark timeline. I leave for 1 second and we're in the dark timeline. We're in the dark timeline. Where can I find good simple Anna art for making a stencil? Oh, that's a good question. Maybe maybe in like my official art section of my Discord. Maybe doing the Coffin of Andy and Lele stuff. As someone who can start right away due to IRL circumstances, I hope that doesn't get to the dark timeline. Anna, what do you mean the economy is bad? The 200 million renovation Vanity project just jumped to 350 million. That's $350 million being dumped directly into the economy. Back-to-back recessions, baby. Oh, we love a recession. Oh, my PNG tuber would be pretty good too. Yeah, that would be good. Hit me up. We'll figure it out. Oh, yeah, I agree, Polly. I think it's a serious risk that the space faces. So this is sort of like the drum I've been beating that like I think it's gonna fall apart. Is sort of like what I've been saying, but I see also 2 other timelines that could occur, and I think this is possible if adult VTuber agencies prove themselves to be both recession proof and proof to whatchamacallit, recession proof, and also VTuber industry proof, in the sense that like agency skepticism does not affect, or agency breakdown, like the breakdown of the agency model does not affect adult VTubers. Like I think 2 and 3 are going to reflect that, and I think this is what we might start to see. So I think what we might start to see is like, so this is timeline 2, and I'm going to call this tiers of the AVTuber. Tiers of the LewdTuber. Tiers of the LewdTuber. So I think one thing that might happen is what we might see is the emergence of different tiers of adult VTuber agencies. So we might, Tears of the Kingdom, Zelda pilled. So what we might see is you have sort of like almost the equivalent of like HoloLive or Niji in tier A. Like, I'm not saying literally those. Like, let's be clear. Let me be clear. Boom. I'm not saying like literally like HoloLive or Niji Sanji are becoming LewdTuber organizations. What I'm saying is like the equivalent of like a major big AVTuber agency. And then like prominent but small. And then you just have like small. So the equivalents, like for those of you that are like kind of paying attention at home, the equivalent in the wider EN VTubing sphere right now is like, this is like the English HoloLive stuff in tier A. Like tier A is like Holo and Niji. Tier B is like what V Shoujo was. Maybe not even that, like maybe more like almost like mythic. And then tier C is like what Promisou EN is. Like that's sort of what I'm thinking in terms of like, you know, scale, how much money is coming in there, what's feasible in terms of spending. And so in the same way, like what I'm thinking here is that what might happen with this age, with the adult VTubing EN side of things is you have like the A or the tier A agencies. Like maybe it's one, maybe it's several. This is sort of like where like VLOR would be. You have like tier B, which is like big but not that big. They have smaller CCV, but they're doing pretty solid. This is what I would put Promisou here. And then you have like the true upstarters, very small, maybe limited resources, but like they're vibing. And like maybe what you might do as an AVTuber if agencies continue to vibe and exist is your goal is kind of upward mobility, right? Like what you want to do is like try to advance yourself from like E-Roi to Promisou to like Vialor. Like I think that could happen as well. There's like tier A, tier B, tier C, and like E-Roi is like the small thing that like E-Roi and like agencies like that, very new, upstart, very small, potentially lower, but they boost talent up, are kind of tier C over here. And then like there's bigger agencies that have some more funding and more kind of resources behind them, but are not on the quite scale of Vialor. And then you have like the big one like Vialor over here. I think tiered model could kind of exist as well, where there's like different tiers. There's different tiers that people are competing in. Like there's different agency tiers of different sizes. Like it might shake up that way. So Hololude. That would be crazy. Guri returns just for Hololude. That would be wild. And then I'm going to call 3 is like slice of the pie. And this is basically my third idea of like what it's going to be like, which is like, these are like very generic. Like I'm not thinking about any agencies in particular with this. So this is kind of my third idea for like what it might be like, which is basically like you have like all these different agencies and they're all just competing for the slice of the pie that is AV tubing, and they're kind of all vying for like being the top dog agency. They're all competing with one another. And so like maybe this is a situation where like E-Roi starts here and then it like is over here. Maybe like this was Vialor, drops a bit. I mean, it wouldn't be that dramatic, but like, you know, like Promasu's over here. Like they're all kind of competing for the same slice of the pie. But like over time, like it's not like there's tiers. Like they're all kind of equivalent to each other in some shape or form. Maybe one is like more powerful. Like maybe Vialor is always carrying like 60% of the market or 50%, 40%, whatever. And then like, you know, there's kind of like maybe scuffles for like kind of being a little bit more prominent, maybe a little bit like some are less. Like basically with the second timeline, what I'm thinking is like this is an instance where it's like, you know, like there's like Phase over here and Mythic over here and like Hollow over here, and they're all just kind of going to be like that. Maybe like, you know, Phase bumps up to being a tier B over time, but like that's what it is. Whereas like this is sort of more like just everyone's kind of in free competition with each other. There's not really like an agency that's considered like lesser than another agency or lesser resources than another agency. They just reach an equilibrium where they're all competing directly with each other. So yeah, third timeline is like very chaotic. It just leads to a situation where like everyone is trying to figure out like who's going to be the top dog. And I would say 3 is like what I originally predicted was going to happen, with like saying like just all it's going to take is a really experienced agency to potentially unseat Vialor. I don't know if that's really true anymore because they have a lot of popularity and money, but this is something that still could happen. I would say in terms of like what I expect to happen, it's literally in this order. I think this is the most likely, unfortunately, the timeline that we're going to enter. I am not confident that VTubing is going to be able to sustain some of the blows it faces. I'm confident that ASMRs will, and I'm confident that independent VTubers can figure things out, but I'm not actually very confident that these agencies will be able to sustain things. Like, I just think money is going to run out, and I think that the economy is going to be in America in a much worse state than people realize. Like, I just think things are going to fall apart. I think if that doesn't fully happen, then like this is most likely, and then I think like maybe this could happen. But I think what's also likely as well is like literally a mix of like all 3. Like, it's very popular that like you could consider it working like this, but it actually kind of works more like this. Meanwhile, all the censorship is like happening here and here. You know what I mean? Like, it's possible as well. And then like some agencies are more affected by this stuff than others. So but this is sort of how I feel the adult like agency market is going to emerge. I think first of all, we are going to see more adult VTuber agencies. Like, we've literally just seen 1 turn into 3 in so many words. And I think we're going to continue to see more and more of that emerge as well. I think we're going to see more, not less, more adult VTuber agencies. The question I have is, how many are we going to see? How successful? Thank you for the follow, by the way, Sarah Zeev. I appreciate it. Also, if you guys like the vibes, don't forget to sub. It definitely helps. Also, tips and bits are always appreciated. And this is kind of where I see things going. I definitely think I think overall it really is an open question where things are going to go. Like, it is really an open question, like, which timeline of these three is the timeline. I do think, again, that this is the reality that we're all going to face. Like, I do think, I don't want to be pessimistic, but this is just something I've always braced for. I do think that, like, what's going to end up happening is, like, all these agencies were, like, really cool, but, like, it's just not the correct time economically for any of them to really, like, exist long term. But I really don't hope that happens, because a lot of people's jobs and a lot of people's income is reliant on the economy not falling apart right now. Like, we have literally 3 companies reliant on, like, this not happening, and I think it would be a great loss to the industry if, like, this was ultimately what happens. So I do hope that it becomes one of these 2 timelines instead. But I think what's most likely is, like, it's really like 1 + 2, 1 + 3, and then it's like, oh, this agency falls. Oh, this agency struggles. This agency fell off. This agency is running out of money. So I don't know. What I would say is this, though. I think it's important to keep in mind that the economy is not in a great spot. Especially in the US. I think it's important to keep in mind that things do look a bit risky. And like I said, an independent adult content creator can be nimble. A company cannot. A company has to steer itself like a ship and make important business decisions. And so if you do believe, like I do, that the future that we're heading into is this right over here, then I would encourage being nimble and maybe not selecting to work with an agency. Maybe not right now. But do know that you might be getting in on a good thing now before the opportunities that originally existed are gone as well. Like, you know, this is such an early and new stage for the adult VTuber agency industry that you do have to think and consider. There's some tough decisions to be made right now to make sure that you land on your feet if all these agencies survive. And it's very possible that they will. I mean, like, I do think between the 2, the 3, I think, like, Promisue and Velour are the best set to last a couple of years plus, like, I think, like, a decade. But no one knows. Like, no one knows how, like, recession proof this very new industry is, which is literally ASMR, anime, avatar, like, entertainment for adults. That is a very risky thing to do right now. So no one really knows, but, you know, any company doing it right now is massive balls. So VTuber co-signing only works if you're full Moko. I know, it sounds like the Saudi money is flowing. What can possibly? I really hope here isn't like an AV tubing crash. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I mean, I'm nervous about myself and, like, what things are going to look like after Black Friday, because I do think, like, we're looking at the AI bubble popping, the tech industry being hit by that. We're looking at Black Friday being a wake-up call economically, the long-term impacts of tariffs. We're looking at merchandise also being very difficult to move around if it's not American-based for American audiences. We're looking at literally companies that do hardware being hit by tariffs. Like, VTubing, it's important to stress, is a global enterprise. Like, fundamentally, it's one of the most global enterprises in the entertainment industry you possibly can get. We're talking about literally like a fucking, like, Japanese phenomenon that took off in America thanks to the import of, to begin with, decades earlier, anime and manga becoming a major subculture, major kind of like pop culture industry in America, and the reliance on Japan and, like, as a whole is still very strong to the point of like regularly importing things, studying JP VTubing in order to bring stuff to EN VTubing and stuff like that. And so like fucking our play is a Korean, like it's a Korean website. Like it's even down to like the specific websites we use. And so for all of the tariff stuff happening in the US to happen the way it is, hardware, merchandise, literally just simply like sending fucking art to people, it is a big blow to the industry, and no one wants to, that is like anti-discussing politics, wants to admit it, but like, you know, that stuff like makes this stuff more likely. You know, the whole like dark timeline thing, as I put it, like it makes it more likely because it's VTubing is a global phenomenon that's primarily the most popular in Japan, and primarily has the most streamers in Japan, and you can't have VTubing the way it was building up was reliant on the free trade that's under attack by the Trump administration. Like the second the most popular VTubers then come after Japan from the United States. Like EN VTubing is a big venture, even though Japan is like far bigger. Like the American side of EN VTubing is huge. So it's one of the biggest markets. It's one of the biggest markets for hardware. It's one of the biggest markets for merchandise. So it is also very stressful because, you know, we're talking about like if you're a VTuber group that's working with merchandise that's outside the US and you have primarily a US audience, like you're dealing with such a clusterfuck. So the result of Homer's hatred era. You said you came in with hatred. Now look what you've done. Japanese steel bad, Argentina beef good. Trump is coming after your anime waifus. Yeah, actually, so true. So yeah, that's what I would say is the future of this stuff. And anyone asking me like from there, like what I think is gonna happen, I could not tell you. I do hope that it is more like 2 or 3. I think all 3 of the agencies I've been talking about today are really like E-Roi. We still have to wait and see what happens, but I think I'm very encouraged by it because I think E-Roi could be the thing that pries open more adult VTuber agencies coming in. Like it's coming in and saying like, we are going to try doing this too. And, you know, as much as I've previously criticized VLR, I've softened on them a lot. And I do think what they offer is really good and important. So it's really important that they also do not get hit by this because, you know, what they've shown is that there is a huge audience for adult VTubing, and also that a lot of people in VTubing are very supportive of sex workers. So, you know, it would be really nice for them not to fucking die. So, thank you for the follow, Jintigo. Anna the moderate. Shut the fuck up. I've definitely come around on them a lot, though. I feel like I was I think I was way too mean to them. I don't think I really treated them fairly. I think they deserved a lot more respect than I gave them. I definitely think it would be very bad if even just like this happened. You know, it's like it's very important to protect the adult VTubing sphere. You weren't. Anna regrets her words and deeds. But yeah, I mean, as for myself and my recommendation for folks that are entering this industry in this point in time, this is what I would ultimately say. And I don't think we're really going to know until maybe like 6 months from now. Those 3 timelines that I mentioned, 1, 2, and 3, basically being like, you know, dark timeline, tier timeline, chaos timeline. We don't really know what's going to happen until probably 6 months from now, maybe more like 8 months from now, when the kind of initial economic downturn is really starting to hit. The winter economic impact from a bad Black Friday is starting to really send ripple waves, and I think probably by then the AI bubble will start to burst. So we won't really start to see fully, also combined with the impact of tariffs, we won't really see fully what's going to happen. Ooh, that was a good burp. With adult VTubing until those things come to pass. Like we do finally hit a stage where the economy has shown what it's going to do at the end of the year and the start of next year. My advice really, I think a lot of folks viewing or curious about these different agencies I've been talking about are a little bit newer to ASMR. I've definitely been talking to newer ASMRists about like getting started, although I've also talked to people that are experienced that have been doing it for a minute about their advice and like what they like to do if they're going to apply to these different agencies and stuff like that. My advice, if you're newish, or you're not even at that state where like your CCV is in like, double digits yet, just keep growing as an indie. Just keep building your brand, practicing, seeing what works, especially if you already have a full-time or part-time job and like you're not super reliant on VTubing for income at all. Just keep growing your brand, see what happens, study all these different adult VTuber agencies, but really don't put too much stock into it quite yet, because like I've said, this is a very startup industry and it's very risky. Like, we just don't know what's going to happen yet. Watch and see what happens with these agencies, what happens with performance over time, and watch and see and study what these agencies do over time. What are their pros? What are their cons? Things like that. What are they really good at? What are they really struggling with? Or do they find risk of censorship? What platforms are they finding the most success on? Is RPlay really a place that you should be streaming? Should you go with YouTube? Should you say, fuck it, really, everyone's got it wrong, Twitch? I think it's important to wait and see and have a measured approach to being an ASMRist. And I don't think your goal should be to join these agencies right away. Like, I do think it's really important to just build your career up a little bit before you start seriously thinking these things. I think the other big thing, the other most important thing I would stress as well, is think carefully about what you want. I cannot stress this enough. It is so important to think very carefully about what you truly want from these VTubing ventures, from these agencies. If, for example, like I've chatted about, if your goal is to be an F4F ASMRist, I think you do have to accept the fact that these F4M agencies are not a good fit for you. There is a reason why I didn't apply to any of the agencies that we've discussed today. Because, well, there's a lot of reasons, but one of the bigger ones was because in each of the instances, I understood F4F was not going to be a non-starter with all these folks. I probably would have done, if I did an interview with any of them, eventually someone would have said, you are an F4F ASMRist. Do you really want to do F4M? Like, for your career, is this going to work? And the answer would have probably been, in all those cases, no, I don't want to switch to F4M. I fucking love F4F. I really don't like doing F4M. And so I think it's really important for folks here to think carefully. Is your goal as an ASMRist to follow your passion? Is it to make money? It's fine if it is, but you have to be honest with yourself about it. And, what is conductive to your goals overall? And depending on that, then you can start to decide what agencies might be a good fit for you, if you want to apply for any of these agencies when they open up auditions, and in general, whether the agency model works for you. I don't think the agency model would ever work for me. I just like too much independence. I am a controversial figure, and I am someone who just I don't think the like adult ASMR like VTuber sphere is a good fit for me. Like, I just think my focus is F4F until an actual market for that has been fully established with like a strategy involved. Like, I'm doing a lot of that F4F groundwork as like a full-time career from scratch. Like, I'm figuring out in real time like what the strategy best practices are. Like, I'm trying to figure this out for other VTubers. So for me, it just doesn't make sense to do work with any of these agencies, but also it wouldn't make sense for me to even entertain the idea of like trying to like, I don't know, advise or start up my own agency until like that is actually established. Although I have no interest in doing an agency. Maybe an F4F ASMR group was what I would do, but not an agency. So, hey, Jinko, so that is sort of what I would say. Like, think very carefully about why you want to work with these agencies and what might be in store. I think the last thing as well is also think about the audience. You never know who your audience is going to be. And as we talked about earlier in the start of the stream, de facto the reality of E and VTubing, if you were doing it as a career. If you're not doing it as a career, if you're doing it also in like a smaller capacity, then this is not something you ever need to think about. But if you're watching this stream, or if you are watching this after the fact, you were probably thinking about VTubing and ASMR work as a career in some shape or form. And if you were thinking about doing this as a career, then inevitably at some point in time, you are going to end up being discussed and viewed by 4chan's VT. So at some point, you need to start to think about the audience reception to your content. Who are you comfortable viewing your content? Who are you not comfortable? And by extension, when you work with an agency, that agency is making strategic decisions around who they're marketing to. So in the same regard, you have less control over which communities that are part of VTubing are showing up to check out your work. Like, you have less control over that aspect. When an agency is the one that controls who shows up to your work, who you market to, where they show up to talk about themselves, what kind of language they use in their copy, all those different things, you just simply lose control over that factor. If you're independent, you get to decide, what kind of audience you cultivate, what kind of audience you prefer, like how much of that audience is like engaging with your work. There's a lot of progressive VTubers that work with agencies where their fans are not progressive. Like, that is just the reality of VTubing. As I mentioned earlier, like, you can't really point to a specific agency and say like, you're the problem. This is a larger industry cultural issue. But yeah, I think it's really important to stress that, like, if you're someone who is very, very, very concerned about what kind of audience you cultivate, and politics or political aspects or your parts of your identity are going to be key to your content in some shape or form, even just simply saying like, it's really important to me that everyone here is like down with like, rainbow flag stuff in my content, then like you might not want to work for an agency, because the agency approach right now is very like politics agnostic and like non-LGBT mentioning. Like, that's just the way it is, unless it's like a very small and specific set of agencies that are like, or small groups that are like really actively like politics friendly, LGBT friendly. Like, I think like even if Phase Connect, like the writing is on the wall that like, kind of like applying to more chud type viewers, like that's on the way out. Like, you can sense that with how Phase like really like just kind of like ignored the Clara drama around Charlie Kirk. So chips and soda cost $8.99 now. That actually sounds made up. That sounds a bit anxiety inducing, not being able to cultivate an audience you're comfortable with, guaranteed. There's a certain level to which like you can talk to an agency about that. But I mean, at the end of the day, like, keep in mind that what you're auditioning for, especially if these adult VTuber industries agencies, is playing a character, like that's really what you're doing. Like, you walk into the role and make it your own, but like you're auditioning for a role, in a lot of ways too. That's really what you're doing. So just keep that in mind. Like, this is one of the costs of giving up some of the creative freedom and some of the career freedom that you would get, from being independent. That like some of those decisions about like, like you have control over like, specific people that are going to be allowed or not allowed in your community. But, like if your agency advertises on 4chan, for example, like that is something that you might not be able to control. Like, you might not be able to stop them from doing that. Just keep that in mind is what I'm saying. Just keep that in mind if you ever want to apply for an agency, that at the end of the day, they have to make marketing decisions. They have to make strategic decisions. They're a business, and part of this business, part of this industry is accepting the fact that places like 4chan do make up part of the viewership as well. They're considered a place where like, opinion might matter, or viewership might matter, money from them might matter. Even if they're not the main or core or majority audience, they still play a stake. I notice whenever I talk about this, people get antsy. They say like, why would Anna even consider being like validating like VT as a place that you need to pay attention to? And well, the honest fact is that I'm not the one that's saying that's a place you need to pay attention to or take seriously, or that's an important place. The industry has decided that. That's what's happened. Like, the industry has decided that VT matters. So it does. If you don't like that, you can either not work in the industry or try to push for change in the industry, in which case, good luck. Like, it's very challenging to do that. So that's what I would say. It's just something you kind of have to come to peace with. It doesn't mean that you have to enable, support, or defend it. Just come to peace with it. So Yeah. I don't know. Do we have any questions, guys? That's been a stream. There has been, yeah, that the streaming did occur. Any questions about this stuff? ASMR, VA stuff. Let me put up the music again because we're kind of wrapping, so I might as well. I'll see who can raid when we're done with questions. Not really. We're making that up. We did a spit take looking at that price tag. Is it really $9? That's crazy. That's not okay, chat. That's not okay. Also, again, don't forget, if you've liked listening to this, don't forget to hit a lurk, redeem, or exclamation point lurk. It helps a lot. And, of course, hitting a follow or sub always helps a lot as well. It means a lot. Yeah. Okay. Most of the stuff that I was thinking about was covered between this and the spicy ad a few weeks back. Hell yeah, I'm glad to hear. Homer, I probably will actually be the one. I can probably take care of getting this all together on my own, so don't worry too much about editing it together to get it on YouTube. I'll send you the video, because I'm probably going to want to put this on RPlay first. So, local pricing changes depend on location, so true. But yeah. Oh, thank you for the lurks, guys. Thumbnail, though, you want me to handle? Yes. That'd be good. That would be good. Thank you, Pat. Thank you. But yeah, I don't know. It was good to talk about all this stuff. I've been thinking a lot about this question, and it's been nice because I've thought for the longest time that we would finally see an adult, a new adult VTuber agency. And Promisue I don't think fully counted because their kind of vibe was they do ASMR, but like they're not solely an ASMR, like a VTuber agency. So doing something like this, I'm glad I finally got to get some of my thoughts off my chest and talk about where the industry's headed, because it does really feel like a unique time right now for adult adult EN VTubing agencies. Like, it feels like a very unique time where like some growth opportunities are there, but we gotta see what happens. So there is time that has to be passed. So yeah. Other than that, let me think. Now that we're wrapping up stream, so the next couple days, I'm probably going to be on stream break. I don't think I'll be doing any new ASMR this weekend. I did some comm work this week. I really need to rest. Even this stream was like pushing it for me. Like, it was actually a little bit too, even this stream was a bit like, I was like, oh, is this going to be like a good stream to do or not? Because I was feeling a bit worn out, but I felt like it came together really well. So yippee. Yeah, I've been very busy. Do I link to my Blue Sky post? Which one is that again? Which one? I can't believe Justin Bieber is streaming. That's not okay. Why is he streaming, chat? Why is he streaming? That's not how it's supposed to work. Yeah. Twitch actually sent me a poll notification about it. They were like, yo, guess who's streaming? I was like, oh, okay. I'm like, yeah, major Justin Bieber fan in the house. Like, the Justin Bieber. Justin Bieber is still alive? I know, right? Oh, the Anna didn't make a schedule. Oh, wow, she's too busy. How'd this happen? You didn't spiral hard this time. Spiral. Real ones remember. Oh, God, that notification was invasive. They must have sent it to, like, the whole entire platform, which is insane. Twitch really doesn't understand itself. Like, it really feels like Twitch is successful despite itself right now. Like, no one wants to fucking watch Justin Bieber on Twitch. I mean, like, 8,000 people do, but, like, your average, like, core Twitch user does not really give a fuck about Justin Bieber. Like, I feel like Dan Clancy doesn't understand the thing that he runs, which is fucking insane, but like, that's how it do be like that sometimes, as they say. It do be It do be like that. He is not 12 anymore. Yeah. Did you guys know that Justin Bieber is no longer 12? Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? We didn't even get to talk about today the fucking Gooner article. The one where it was like gooning is like a spiritual death. Like that one was fucking insane. And also we didn't talk today about the Steam dev news where like a Steam dev found like Steam saying like we review the games on a case by case basis. Oh well. Dan Clancy, try not to be cringe challenge impossible. Yeah, true. Real. Also, one other thing as well, chat. So just a friendly reminder, while I did just say, oh my god, I have so much commission work I've had to do. I do still have 2 slots left, and then I'm going to close up commissions for bigger projects. So if you're eager to get a commission done, now is the perfect opportunity to go ahead and file it through. I might also open up script commissions where I write scripts. So that's also a really good opportunity if you want me to write a script out. Maybe I'll perform it, maybe I won't. It really depends. That's also something that I'm going to open up the possibility for as well, where like a script is written and then I decide whether I want to like perform it or not and things like that. So that's also something as well that I'll be opening up some commissions for. It's going to be like the kind of style where it's like I'll write like a story or I'll write like a script if you want to send to different ASMRists, because I have done script writing in a professional capacity before. So it's also, I feel pretty comfortable writing scripts for like folks to, let me put it this way. Like, let's say you want to get a commission on the cheap from another ASMRist, but you'd like to not write the script yourself. You could just commission me. I'll do the script for you based on your prompt. I'll be your little ChatGPT equivalent, but a real human being. And then you can send it over to like Ava Lamp or whatever that you want to work with. Speaking